Hello, good evening. It's me, Jacqui Deevoy. It's the 6th of October, 2023. Welcome to the show. So sorry I wasn't here last week. I was invited off to a film premiere, don't you know? It was the documentary of the making of Gods of Their Own Religion, directed by Naeem Mahmood, who's directing my new film, Playing God. I say that very possessively. It's not just mine, it's obviously his and his brother Ash's and Phil Graham. We're all working on it together. That's Playing God. Yeah, I won't play the I think you've all seen the teaser for it, but we should have some new clips from that very soon because it's being edited at the moment. Still crowdfunding for that. Got a little way to go, but we will be getting it to your screens very soon. Yeah, I've been very busy since the last time I spoke to you. Did an interview with James Freeman on TMT Radio. Did another couple of interviews as well. I'm trying to remember what. I experienced a couple of Twitter spaces. I did one on Tuesday talking about the whole Midazolam murders, euthanasia in care homes and hospitals over the last 3 years. And that went really well, actually. It was set up by the Razor's Edge, nice group of Irish people. Yeah, it was really nice. Had a couple of hundred people joining us. So yeah, really interesting time. My group now, my support group that I set up for families of victims of euthanasia has now got 99 members. So more people are joining every day. It's kind of yeah, so the more that people hear about it, the more people are joining, obviously, and it's pretty shocking. Every day I hear it, news stories about terrible things that have happened in hospitals and care homes over the last 3 years. Yeah, that's what have I been doing on Twitter this week? I've just got I'm just looking at a couple of recent posts here, so that I put up this afternoon. Yeah, somebody, a Twitter friend of mine, went and looked at Nicola Bulley's grave. Obviously I'll be called a ghoul for posting such things, but she sent me the pictures, and I just thought it was a little bit sad that the grave just looked really untended. People are saying, oh well, yeah, the flower pot has blown over because it was windy and there's no gravestone because it takes a while to get a gravestone. But I don't know, it just had a really sad feeling about it to me. It's a bit strange that it just looks how it does. So yeah, a bit interesting. Don't know what to make of that. Back in February I was talking about whether Nicola Bulley existed or not. I didn't know one way or another, but I did ask a lot of questions at the time. Got me into quite a lot of aggravation, shall we say, with various people. But I've never actually said she doesn't exist, because I don't know. It's just like there's still a lot of questions around that. Looking at the pictures today, they're reminding me a little bit of the Sandy Hook graves. I don't know if anyone is familiar with that story. I'm sure a lot of you are, but the graves there, within months they were just totally overgrown and abandoned, and yeah, all a bit strange, and that kind of smacked of that to me. But anyway, that's enough of all that grimness and horror. Let's just invite on my before we do, I'm going to play a word from our sponsor. Thank you.
I work with the greatest, most powerful force in the universe. It can help you with anything such as mental, emotional, and physical trauma. This beautiful, healing, loving energy can be harnessed and fully integrated through the miracle of hypnosis. Why spend years trying to improve your life and effect change while this life-changing therapy takes just one session? It has such an enormous impact on people's lives. It can remove any addiction in an instant because we find the source of the problem. Your life has a purpose. My mission is to bring this knowledge and awareness to you today. There's never been a better time to reach your highest potential and be the best that you can be. So what are you waiting for? Now's the time to make your dreams a reality. Expand your mind and your heart in just one session. wait to hear from you. Transcend the walls of the matrix and remember who you truly are.
And here she is, Charlotte.
Hello.
I make you on there. Have you ever been introduced as the opposite of grimness and horror?
Oh, I must have missed that bit. Is that what you said?
I said that's enough of this grimness and horror. Here's the absolute opposite of grim. And then I realised I had to run the ad and completely
Sunshine and light, I have been called before, yeah.
Oh, you are a little ray of sunshine. So tell me, you're Charlotte, the Baroness of Burnley. How did that title come about?
So yeah, this came about probably at the beginning of last year when Tony Blair received the Knighthood of the Garter accolade, and I think James Delingpole changed his name on Twitter to something similar. Abby Roberts put Dame in front of hers because we thought if he can receive something like that for all the atrocities he's caused, then why not? And now I'm kind of, shall I drop it? I don't like my surname. I just don't like it, so I don't want to put that on there. So just keep it. It's one of those.
You can change your surname, you know.
Well, I did that when I got married and divorced a few years ago, and that was a lovely surname that I kept, but I reverted back.
Did you get married by mistake as well? I did that.
Yeah, it was a whirlwind romance.
That's the thing with me. What is the matter with us? Honestly, you know.
And I really like the surname.
Did you marry him because you didn't? Oh, you didn't like it.
No, I didn't like mine, but anyway.
Yeah. Well, there are ways of getting rid of a surname.
I know. Maybe another one on the horizon, maybe.
So tell me about the last 3 years. How have they been for you? What's that? And what have you been awake forever, or did you just suddenly wake up?
Yeah.
What has it been for you?
2016, I started working from home, which meant that I had a bit more time on my hands than the usual 9 to 5, and coming home and making the tea and whatnot. And I got into a lot of documentaries, discovered people like Richie Allen and David Icke, and it kind of like went from there. So the last 3 years, I guess, I saw it before maybe a lot of people, even people we speak to now. Yeah. And I thought, I'm going to shout from the rooftops everything that I know. I mean, like half of the people still didn't give a shit, but yeah. So there was
that is something that plagues us. We spend a lot of time shouting things from rooftops and trying to help people. And sometimes you get to a point, just think, do you know what? The majority just don't care. They're not interested. Have you found that, and how does that make you feel?
Yeah, well, I guess, Jacqui, before the pandemic, I was watching things, learning things about politicians and who these people actually are, bloodlines, you name it. Yeah. And the people I spoke to, like, oh, everyone knows politicians lie, and like you don't get it, And then they also, say, well, it doesn't affect me, does it? Well, yeah, it does actually. And then come the pandemic and the 3 jabs in, and their line was then, well, you just have to get on with it, don't you? Like the mask thing and what like, no, you don't. It's really frustrating, especially like people in real life. So I guess I took to social media a bit more to shout and share what I know. Yeah.
What was your background like growing up as a child? I always ask people this. Fascinating, and everyone goes, "Oh, I didn't know you were going to ask me that."
Well, that's a good question. I mean, I've always been slightly extroverted. Maybe I'm a pianist, a musician, and things like that as a hobby. And then when it comes to things such as talking about this, like one side of the family, like my mum and my stepdad, are completely on my page. My stepdad's been trying to bang on about 9/11 since 9/11, and I kind of got where we're coming from, and now obviously I completely do. Whereas on the other side, my dad, who's amazing, he's more on the intellect side. I'm not saying that they aren't, but a very sensible man, and he's now in the last few months like coming kind of around to what I've been saying. So in the past, he thought I was just a weirdo, just embarrassing him probably with all my Facebook statuses, but he gets it.
Do you think people like your dad are waking up because of the people around them, like nagging them, or because a lot of this stuff is, well, some of it is slightly seeping into the mainstream?
That's a really good question, actually. So he went to Australia at the beginning of the year, Melbourne specifically.
Yeah.
And one of his old friends works in the medical industry, and his wife does as well. And he actually sent me a text from outside there, basically saying neither of them have had the vaccine, and knowing what they know and being insiders, so to speak, that really opened his eyes. And so he's even took a copy of the Light paper last time he was around at my house, did my dad as well. So.
I love it when that happens. I was saying last time I was on about my neighbour. She's 77. She might be watching tonight. If she is, hello, Gunhild. And she's picked up the Light paper a couple of times now, and actually came back saying, "Oh, it's actually quite well written. It's quite good, isn't it?" And I'm like, "Yay!" Because she's a big fan of the BBC, as a lot of people are. But even people who are waking up to the fact of to what the BBC actually are, they still go, "Oh, but they do make a good drama," And it's like, is that enough to forgive all the other stuff, harbouring paedophiles and lying on a daily basis? So we got to 2020, and then where were you when you first? Do you remember March the 23rd when they locked down? I was in a restaurant in Derby.
I actually went to Derby on that day to.
Did you
pick somebody? So past relationship, pick somebody up who works at Rolls Royce down there to come back up north because we're going to be able to go to work. And I remember actually, and this is probably against everything that we should talk about, I went to McDonald's on the way back because they did announce they were closing them for, what was it, a month or so. I was going, oh my God, this might be the last Big Mac that I'm ever going to have.
Keep that quiet.
Explains a lot. Anyway, but I guess in my head, I knew that life was never going to be the same again. That was my main worry.
Did you feel that?
That was the main thing I felt. I wasn't scared of a virus. I didn't, at the time, I wasn't of the, oh my God, there's a deadly virus thing. And I remember coming back that day, watching Boris and thinking, God, this is just going to be a nightmare. I remember.
So you actually saw him on the telly then? I mean, I don't have a telly, but I didn't see him. But I'd heard.
I watched him on YouTube, I think.
Yeah. I think that's where I looked. You have to actually seek it out, which is which you don't usually want to do. But that particular day, I remember just the day after that, I had an article published. Because I'd found on the government website that it wasn't a high consequence disease, And so I wrote an article, quickly sent it to all the national newspapers going, hooray, look, being a little bit, well, I wasn't being naive. I just wanted to see if they'd publish it and see if, I said, this is great. It's reassuring for everyone. People are very scared and worried, and this is going to be great, Sent it out. None of them wanted it. So I got it published on it was called News Punch at the time. It's now called the People's Voice website. And put it out there, and it did get seen by a lot of people. So, but it was I kind of knew the papers weren't going to take it because they don't want to reassure anyone. So that was the first clue for me. What was the first clue for you?
I'm sure somebody will have tried to debunk that as well along the way for you, which is ridiculous. Well, Matt, do you know the documentary maker Jason Burmas? He did a lot on 9/11 loose change. So I subscribed to him for a while before all this. And I remember he did a watch along Event 201. So
Oh yes, of course,
and the parallels. It was just. I think it had happened in August 2019, if not October.
I watched it in November. I think it was like 5 hours long, wasn't it? I watched the whole thing.
Yeah, well worth it. Worth it, because you can see exactly what they were doing with the newscasters. You got one person on the left saying don't rush with the vaccine, all that kind of stuff. It just made perfect sense that this is exactly what they're doing. Not just another one of those weird coincidences. And so I tried to get everyone I could to watch that. I mean, only those who wanted to.
I mean, I wonder how many people are even aware of that now. Obviously we've all seen it and we watched it at the time. And once you've seen that, then you know that it's all been planned, and it's all all totally staged. And once you know that, it is reassuring in that you aren't scared. I mean, I'm generally not scared of anything, and nor are you. I can tell that. But I do remember I was living in Derby at the time, so I remember walking down to the corner shop, with my ex, and on the way back, everyone was on the doorsteps clapping, and we were like, "Thank you."
Oh God!
We were like, "We've only gone to the corner shop, but thanks." we had no clue what that was about at that point. Not watching the telly.
I'm embarrassed to admit that as much as I didn't clap. I did get shame clapped by the neighbours once. However you describe it. Because we used to have
shame clapped. That's a new one. I like that.
Well, they all used to come out and 3 houses at once, and I'd have a bit of a chimney and friends around still, because obviously no virus. And I remember just trying to ignore them, and I accidentally caught the eye while they were all clapping. So just the same face. There were no noise came out at all. So.
That's all right then. You're forgiven as long as you didn't actually make a clapping noise. Then that's okay. That's so funny. It reminds me of I was staying with a friend in May 2020, and then I knew about every Thursday night that people were doing this, and she loved it. And she was like, "Come on!" And I'm like, "What?" She said, "Out on the doorstep to clap. We're going to bang pans tonight." And I'm like, "Are you serious? Have you actually ever met me? I've known her 40 years,
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh, don't be such an old stick in the mud. It's great fun. We all stand on the doorstep and we all chat to each other." And I'm like, "Well, I can chat to my friends anytime." She said, "No, but lockdown, we're not allowed." And I'm like, "Oh, just stop it. Leave me alone." Bless her. But no, she said, "Well, I'm going out." I said, "Fine." But she said, "Oh, you're so boring." Like it was some party thing that you had to do it. And if you didn't, you were dull,
Yeah.
So let's talk about some more recent news. So we mentioned earlier before the show the whole carry on, shall we say, at GB News. I was chatting, was it last night or the night before, briefly to Calvin Robinson. Yeah, actually, he contacted. I actually wanted him to be in my new film. I wanted him to be in Playing God, as a man of the cloth sort of thing. I thought it would be good, but he didn't get back to me. But I've got Patrick Pulicino in it, Father Patrick Pulicino, who's amazing, retired neurologist. So yeah, don't meet Calvin. But anyway, no, he contacted me because I'd been a bit mean about him on Twitter. And so he contacted me to ask what the hell was going on, and we had a bit of a chat. And then I apologized for being a bit mean. And then he said, "That's fine. That was very nice of him to forgive me for being mean." And then it was all lovely. And then after he got suspended, I sent him a message saying, "Oh, what the hell's going on?" sort of thing. Are you all right? Sorry to hear about that. And we had a little chat. And what's your view on that?
Yeah, great question. Obviously Lawrence Fox, ridiculous that he said what he said, but it has been blown out of proportion. Was it planned? Have they made a march out of him for the whole entertainment of it all? Yeah, they want to shut down GB News. That's clear.
Do you think this is the idea I had, right? Right. A lot of people were brought in for the whole pandemic, right? So people we'd never heard of, like Matt Hancock, Chris Whitty, Jonathan Van Tam, all these people behind the lectern, is that word? Behind their lecterns, like priests of the new religion, And then suddenly this new channel came as well. And I was thinking, is this all part of it? And then they'll shut it down after, when it ends. So basically, all these people are disappearing, apart from Matt Hancock, who's going through the humiliation rituals on mainstream TV.
Yeah, brilliant.
I think he is actually being.
Well, actually, I saw Chris Whitty. I saw a clip of Chris Whitty. He was on this morning. Yeah, he's now promoting this smoking ban that they're bringing in.
Oh God! Well, I couldn't do the maths on that. It's like, so 1 year. What? By the time that someone who was born in today is 36, they might be able to buy some cigarettes. No, I couldn't get it.
If you're 66 and then you're a pensioner, you're going to get a 70-year-old to go and buy you some cigarettes. It's just crazy, isn't it?
I love that. No, so Chris Whitty, very little is known about him. He grew out of an egg, obviously, just emerged lizard-like.
Gollum. Yeah.
That's what I
He
said.
interestingly, he used to go to college with my friend Dick Delingpole. I think it
Oh,
was
so he did actually. He does have a past.
yeah. I think
He
it
hasn't just been
was
grown in a lab somewhere.
that might be his clone that they rock out every now and then. Yeah,
Because he's a strange. What was
he's
he
great.
like? What was he like on this morning? You said.
Yeah, I don't know if it was from today, but yeah. So you know Josie Gibson, who was one Big Brother, so she's one of the
Oh
presenters.
yeah.
I know for a fact because she used to follow me and she used to tweet things similar to us that she's awake, but I think she must have sold her soul somehow to be on this morning. But it was on the settee talking about the benefits of the smoking ban thing, which I mean, I kind of hope it won't happen because that is too far, isn't it? Really, you know, each to their own and things like that.
I was thinking the other day. I live in I'm in a block of flats at the moment, and walking down the corridor, I could kind of smell a little waft of cigarettes, maybe coming out of someone's flat, you know, under the door or whatever. And I was thinking, God, I wonder if they'll ban people from smoking in their own homes at some point. But I think they do in some council premises. They do say you can't smoke inside. That's something I heard a few years ago, anyway. But it's like, this curbing of our freedom, and you can't even do what you want within your own four walls because they're saying they're not your own four walls. And then obviously they don't want people to own their own homes, so they will have control of what you're doing in your own home.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, most rented accommodation does say that too, but yeah, I mean, it's actually been quite interesting and eye-opening since that announcement. The people who purportedly are against, more state mandates and things like that, welcoming it with open arms. I think your friend Isabella Oakshott, even though she's blocked me, I think she put a tweet out to say.
She blocked you as well?
Gosh, she has.
Do you know what? I didn't say anything to offend the woman. We've had a long private chat over a period of months. I've been perfectly polite and professional with her as one journalist to another.
Yeah.
And then I asked her a couple of questions politely again. She actually thanked me for being civil, you know, because she said a lot of people aren't very nice to her. And I bit my tongue even then, you know. It's like,
then she met up with Tony Stowell, didn't she, as well?
That's the thing. Well, Tony was going to be in my film, but sadly I've not been able to get hold of him because he's blocked me from all angles. So he obviously can't be in the film anymore because I needed to speak to him. But anyway, so he blocked me and she blocked me on the same day. So pretty much or within a day.
How weird.
I've no idea. I mean, all I said was to her is, I see you met up with Tony. Do you understand what's going on now? And, you know, have we got you on side now, sort of thing? And she blocked me. And I said to Tony, I see you've met up with Isabel. Have you managed to convince her about the Midazolam murders? Because his mother was murdered in you know, a really tragic story. And I've had Tony on the show a couple of times and he's been great. But then he blocked me, and it's like, I have no idea why. And obviously I asked him, he never replied. But there's a lot of this playground sort of stuff going on, and you know, I'm kind of a bit old for that stuff now. You know, I've been a journalist for 38 years, and it's just tedious. It's like, that was the thing when I was like 13 at school. That was the punishment. You just don't talk to someone, or the other people gang up. You'll gang up together, or two girls don't talk to the other girl, you know. And it's just like, oh my God, am I back in 1970, 1890?
Well, this is the thing, isn't it, Jackie? I mean, since like 2020, I guess a lot of us have found each other like through social media, through meetups. I mean, I met you at the comedy event in Kegworth. Yeah. And it's just getting so fractured, like, and you know, it's like a lot of tribalism going on, and that person's on that side, that person doesn't believe, you know, even like when Abby got arrested, like some people were saying that were a staged event and it wasn't, and it's just like nobody knows what to believe anymore.
But you know what? I think one of the problems that people don't, the reason they don't know what to believe is because they've lost their gut instincts, they've lost their intuition. I mean, some people have never have had it, or I think you're born with it, but it gets beaten out of people at various stages. When you're a child, when you're at school, when you're older at work or whatever, through relationships, you are taught not to trust yourself, and definitely not to trust your heart and your gut, and you're told to you know, just think, do it all cerebrally, and yeah, you might feel that someone's not quite right, but pay no attention to that. You know, that doesn't mean anything, and that's a real shame. And I think this is the problem when people say to me, oh, I don't know what to believe anymore. It's, oh, well, trust your gut instincts. And they're like, what do you mean? And it's like, and then I've slowly realized that a lot of people don't have that ability.
There's a quote by one of the ex-CIA directors, William Binney, and he'd said, our disinformation program will be complete when the American people don't know what to believe anymore. And I guess with social media and just, you know, the ability to, you know, fake stuff, it is hard sometimes.
It is really hard. Like, you know, I mentioned the Nicola Bulley thing earlier. You know, I put out a lot of questions back in February when she first went missing, and later when she was allegedly found. But I didn't see anything that, you know, gave me any definitive answers. Whereas in other cases of, you know, missing people, murders, suicides, drownings, whatever, there was a lot more evidence. And like, you know, I showed the picture of the grave, which makes me a ghoul. That's one of the bot's favorite words. It's great.
Yeah, I've seen that. I mean, the thing is, though, the way that they reported that, whether intentionally or not, they were asking for all these questions to be asked, and you asked the right questions. And they also were asking for people to come up and, you know, make TikTok videos and do their own investigation into it, because it was that shoddy.
Yeah.
But again, that on purpose, we don't know, do we?
Well, that could have been all part of the online harms bill, couldn't it, to get people to, like, you know, go a bit too far with their probing, and then maybe upsetting people. But I know someone who went up there to do some filming, and he said it was like a Stepford Wives set, and no one would speak to him. He was just going to talk to people in the street, you know, had his cameras and stuff, and he was clearly a professional. And he said they wouldn't look him in the eye. They just scurried away. And that is bizarre. So, you know, I'm not just saying this stuff off the top. Well, I am asking questions off the top of my head because I'm a really nosy, curious person, you know.
We know what they're capable of as well, though, don't we, Jacqui? That's the thing. We know what they're capable of, so why can't we ask these questions? Yeah,
it's very, very hard to believe that they would go to these lengths, but, you know, they've gone to further lengths. Like 9/11 we mentioned earlier, you know, they go to lengths. They go to lengths that, like you said, people won't believe and can't believe, and confuses them. And it's the whole thing, like the government wouldn't do that to us. And in the same way, all the stuff I've been investigating the last 3 years with the euthanasia in hospitals, you know, people think doctors and nurses wouldn't do that. But I've now got like many hundreds of stories. I've got 99 people in the support group where they clearly are, you know, behaving abominably and criminally and harming people. And it's shocking. It is really shocking, and it is hard to believe. And I totally understand how people can't get their heads around it. And I think some people get to a point where they just think, "Do you know what? I'm not even going to look at this anymore. I just can't."
Yeah.
So what makes you and I different?
Well, this is the thing. I'm totally anti-tyranny, and I guess before 2016, like I said, I never even really thought about it much. I was very much a magazine buyer of celebs and things like that.
I love a bit of that as well.
do you still? I mean, I'm not even half in, half out, but I have enjoyed. I put a tweet out the other day. I enjoyed watching the Radio 2 festival the other week, and then I got some grief saying that BBC, you know, all that kind of stuff. But I did enjoy it.
Well, it's human nature to be nosy about things, and it's also it's good to have a balance as well. I've got some secret guilty pleasures. I don't have a TV, but I can watch things on my computer. I've been watching Married at First Sight. Don't tell anyone.
Oh, have you? I have been told to watch it. So
you've got to have a little thing. You ate at McDonald's once, you know, kill me now. But, you know, I think it's good to have balance and to know what's going on in that world. Because if you just totally submerge yourself in the whole truther movement, you lose sight of all the stuff that other people are doing, and that's not healthy.
Yeah, no, 100%. I always use an anecdote of I know all the names of Kerry Katona's kids, but I don't know about what I should know.
Okay, you've gone too far now. I'm going to have to.
I'm not going to listen. One was named after Max Clifford, though. I remember that.
But our half an hour is actually up. But do you know what we were saying earlier? If you're not going out tonight, and if you're hanging around, if you want to rejoin when Francis comes on, because you're good friends with Francis. He's on at 8:30. But in the meantime, I've got a couple more guests, so you can go and put your feet up and have a McDonald's and
Stop it.
and watch Married at First Sight. There's only like 12 episodes to catch up on.
I'll report back afterwards. Yeah. Oh, well, thank you for having me on, Jacqui.
Okay, I'll see you again shortly.
Yeah, see you in a bit. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you for the lovely Charlotte, the Baroness of Burnley. And my next guest, I'm not doing music in between all the guests tonight because it takes up a lot of time and I've kind of run out of songs. So if any of you have got songs that you want to send in, this is Josh McKinney. Josh, where it says there, such a lovely name. I like that name, very biblical. How are you tonight? We've lost your sound there, Josh. So I think there's... there you are, yeah.
I have my mic off. So thank you for bringing me on tonight. I'm
absolutely delighted to have you. I'm a big fan of young people, and you are a young person, and you've been blessed with a baby face, which is lovely. You'll be delighted with that when you're 40 and 50 and 60 years old. That's for sure. I'm sure for now it must be a bit of a curse for you, is it, having a baby face?
Not really.
No, have you been all right with it? Good.
I can live with it.
I'm glad to hear that. So I've got you on because I saw you on Twitter. I just thought you're quite an interesting person, and you've done a lot for your years. And can I just play first before we talk that your pin post on Twitter? Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, we'll play that now. We've got Gold Eagle. There he is.
In the name of God and of the dead generations from which she received her old tradition of nationhood, Ireland for us summons her children to her flag and strikes for her freedom. Yay! Having organised and trained for her manhood through the secret revolutionary organisation, the Irish Republican Brotherhood, and through her open military organisations, the Irish Volunteers and the Irish Citizen Army. Having patiently perfect her discipline, having resolutely waited for the right moment to reveal itself, she now seizes that moment, and supported by her exiled children in America and gallant forces in Europe, but relying in the first on her own strength, she strikes in full confidence of victory. Yes. We declare the right of the people of Ireland to the ownership of Ireland. Wow! And to the unfettered control of Irish destinies to be sovereign and indefeasible. The law of separation of that right by a foreign people and government has not extinguished the right, nor can it ever be extinguished except by the destruction of the Irish people. In every generation, the Irish people have asserted their right to national freedom and sovereignty 6 times in the past 300 years. They have asserted it in arms, standing on the fundamental rights, and again asserted it in arms in the face of the world. We hereby proclaim the Irish Republic as sovereign independent state, and we pledge our lives and the lives of our comrades in arms to the cause of its freedom, of its welfare, and of its exaltation among the nations. The Irish Republic is entitled to and hereby claims the allegiance of every Irishman and Irish woman. The Republic guarantees religious and civil liberty, equal rights and equal opportunities to all its citizens, and declares its resolve to pursue the happiness and prosperity of the whole nation and all of its parts, cherishing all the children of the nation equally and oblivious of the differences carefully fostered by an alien government which have divided a minority from the majority in the past, until our arms have brought the opportune moment for the establishment of a permanent national government, representative of the whole people of Ireland and elected by the suffrages of all her men and women. The provisional government hereby constituted will administer the civil and military affairs of the Republic and trust for the people. We place the cause of the Irish Republic under protection of the Most High God, whose blessing we invoke upon our arms, and we pray that no one who serves that cause will dishonor it by cowardice, inhumanity, or rapine. In this supreme hour, the Irish nation must, by its valor and discipline, by the readiness of its children to sacrifice themselves for the common good, prove itself worth the august destiny to which it is called, signed on behalf of the provisional government. Never forget these men's names that gave their lives Thomas James Clark, Sean McDermott, Padraig Henry Pierce, James Connolly, Thomas McDonough, Eamon Canton, Joseph Plunkett.
That's amazing. The reason I want to ask you about that, but that's the 1916 proclamation. That's a hard thing to say. What in that proclamation? What resonates with you? What really makes your heart pound? You know, when you read it, what is it about that?
It makes me, feel upset that, those men that wrote the proclamation died for nothing, because they wanted an Ireland that was going to be Irish, and it says in the proclamation that Ireland, should be owned by the Irish people. And look at it now, it's been, been taken away. It's been invaded from third world, could I say, nationals. And I think that's, disgraceful. And I think they'd be turning in their graves.
Yeah, you put out quite a lot of controversial posts, and that's what I liked about you as well. You're 17 years old. When you did that speech last April, you must have been just about 17 or nearly 17. It's quite amazing, to be able, there's no way I could have stood up and done that when I was your age. What gives you that kind of courage to do that?
I'm not actually sure. It's just an urge I have to speak at protests. Like I've spoken at other protests before. I've spoken at at anti-lockdown protests, and I spoke, in front of 5,000 people, and I wasn't one bit nervous. I don't really know why I have that courage. I just feel like, it's something I have to do.
Is it something that you've learned at school, or is it your parents or family that have inspired you?
I used to do drama when I was younger, so maybe that has a role in it. And I used to, do school plays, and I used to do them in front of, tons of, parents and stuff like that. And I feel like that's probably given me courage along the years. Yeah,
no, definitely. And what about your family? How do they fit into it all?
What do you mean? Can you?
Are you inspired by any family members?
Not really. No.
Okay, that's interesting. So when did you actually go onto Twitter? Because you've got nearly 2,500 followers on Twitter now, which is pretty good.
So I started the Twitter account in March 2020, but that was before all the lockdowns happened. This probably a week before all the lockdowns happened, and I was going to start posting pictures of my, of my dog and all my pets I have, and I decided to abandon the account for a while. And then whenever I started researching about stuff about the scamdemic and about how dangerous the vaccine was, I decided to, log back into the Twitter account, and somebody gave me the encouragement to turn it into an anti-lockdown, anti-vaccine account. So that's what I decided to do.
That's quite amazing, because for the last 3 years, for a lot of us and a lot of the people I interview, and for me, we were grown-ups, when it started, and we still are, just 3 years older. But you were actually a child, in 2020. Mm-hmm. So it would affect you in a very, very different way, and you would see things through a child's eyes, which is really, very, very different to how an adult would see it. So March 2020, and tell me, what was the first that you heard about the whole pandemic?
I felt like it was always an over-exaggeration, and I wasn't really too sure, so I did follow the overrules just in case it was real. But then, as I did my research, I kind of found out that it was a hoax and everything. But at the start, I feel like something was very off. I just had that gut feeling that it didn't feel right. It felt, very off, and it didn't really seem real at all, because you had those videos in China of those people, walking in the street and then dropping dead. Why did that not happen in Europe or anywhere else? So
like me and like a lot of people, you were able to look at those videos and see, probably because you did drama as well at school, that they were people who were acting really badly as well. The way they fell, the way they landed, it's like, oh, I'm dying. And it's like, oh, then they're crawling around a bit and then lying on their backs going, oh, I'm dead. And it's like, yeah, it wasn't very convincing, was it?
No.
So as someone who'd done drama, you could recognize that. Or as a critical thinker, you recognize that.
Yeah. It's been a long time since I've done drama, but, it was pretty obvious to anyone if you look at it closely. It was, bad acting, really. I mean, look at all the politicians; they're all bad actors, and you can definitely tell they're reading off their wee New World Order scripts, and then the whole politics, this Punch and Judy. I don't really get why people still think that politics is going to like help the situation we're in. I don't think it's going to work anytime soon. I mean, I used to be optimistic that maybe if I started a political party, I could go in and like fix the situation we were in. But when I look back at that, I think that I was naive because I didn't realize, all the agendas back then. I was only awake to the COVID lockdowns and maybe but some parts of the Great Reset, but I didn't get the full picture until like say last year or even the year before.
Prior to 2020, I mean, you were 14 back in 2020, is that right? And
Yeah.
Did you have were you politically inclined before the age of 14? Or
No.
So it was just what happened that made you start looking into stuff?
Yeah.
And since then, have you been down any other rabbit holes?
Not really. I've just been, calling out mass immigration and the LGBT, propaganda that's been in our school system. I mean, I've had to put up with LGBT propaganda for 5 years, and I'm just glad that I'm done with school now. I just graduated, so I'm glad I'm just away from that cesspit and stuff.
Tell me what it was. Sorry, first, where do you live in Ireland?
I live in the north of Ireland, but I'm not going to say where because for privacy reasons.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. But north of Ireland, yeah. Well, I can tell by your accent, obviously. But, yeah. So tell me. You just said cesspit. Explain that.
I mean, in general, the teachers weren't nice. The students weren't nice. I was, teased and bullied in that school for having these anti-lockdown, anti-vaccine opinions. They would constantly, like people in my class would constantly stalk my Twitter account and Facebook account and make fun of my tweets and kind of laugh. But it didn't really bother me, but I did get a bit of annoying after a while. And there'd be times where like I wore like the visor, the wee visors in school. I wore the visor instead of the mask, and I put the visor above my head a little bit, and then like the people in my class would say like, "I'll put the visor down," but they wouldn't wear their masks themselves, which means they're hypocrites. And I don't understand why they attacked me whenever they weren't, following the rules themselves. It's like, make up your mind. And then eventually my Twitter account, got banned.
Yeah.
Like permanent account suspension. But then I got that back in February this year, and then it's kind of took off since then.
So when was it banned?
It was banned in April 2022, I think.
And then you got it back in February this year. Yeah. My Twitter account was banned in August 21, and I got it back in January this year. So a lot of us were banned for various reasons. My ban, I think, was over reporting vaccine injuries, one in particular that people didn't like the sound of. So when did you realize about the jabs? Let's not call them vaccines, let's call them mRNA injections. When did you find out about them?
Well, whenever the vaccines were first promoted, I was kind of like, a vaccine can't be created in this year. I mean, it takes 10 years to create a vaccine. That's the belief I had. And then, I started watching videos of Andrew Kaufman, Kate Shimarami, and other brilliant doctors across the world on their viewpoints about the vaccine and how the vaccine was dangerous and how the mRNA was dangerous, and that got me on. And that's how I was able to convince my parents not to take the vaccine, because they were actually planning to take the vaccine, and I was able to warn them not to take it, and they're all thanking me for it.
Oh, that's amazing, because now they can see the damage that it's causing. So your parents themselves must be quite young.
I wouldn't say so, no.
not to you.
Don't tell them I said that.
That's actually amazing that you actually educated them and that they listen to you, because a lot of people, whatever age they are, don't get listened to, and their family don't listen to them. And like you had trouble at school. Have you found now that, are you still friends with some of your schoolmates?
I mean, I've only had 2 or 3 friends in school. The rest of them were just pure idiots. I mean, I never really was friends with them anyway. It's like they would pretend to be nice for a while, and then they'd be nasty, and then they'd be nice again, and nasty and two-faced. They're that type of people. But I'm lucky I have 2 good friends that I have stayed with during school, and now after school, and I'm glad that they were loyal to me and I was loyal to them, and that I was able to accept that they had different opinions. Like my friend who agreed with me on the vaccine, she had like lefty views, but I mean, she accepted my views, so I basically accepted her views. Like,
what do you mean? What do you actually mean? What do you regard as lefty views? I'm always, even at my age, a bit confused about the whole left and right thing and who's a lefty and who's not. What do you mean by lefty views?
I mean, my lefty is like LGBT and stuff like that, and like inequality and all that stuff. Really, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Talking of LGBT, you're Irish Catholic, like I am. I was brought up Irish Catholic as well. Both my parents are from Ireland. My dad's from County Leash. My mum's from Waterford. They're both passed now, sadly. But yeah. So being brought up Irish Catholic, I know what that's like.
I only converted to Catholicism in the last year. I used to be, an atheist up until.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Well, that is really interesting. So were you brought up an atheist?
I wasn't really brought up an atheist. I was just left to decide what religion I wanted to follow.
That's interesting because a lot of the whole there are people who have a baby and they allow the baby to decide what sex they're going to be when it's older. You said your parents have brought you up so you can decide what religion you want to follow, if any. What's the difference? Sorry, that's a hard question. Make up, actually, let alone a hard question to answer. But yeah, do you know what I mean? So some people feel that a child has the right to maybe make these fundamental choices for themselves.
To correct myself, Dwayne, people did encourage me to go into Christianity or come to Protestantism or come to Catholicism. And I was like, which one do I go with? And that's why I was kind of an atheist for a while. And then I decided, to go to Catholicism because it was actually the rosary that brought me into the Catholic faith. And that's why I'm Catholic, is because of the rosary. It's because of, our great Mother of God. She invited me into the Catholic faith and I accepted the invitation.
Right. Okay. That's really interesting because we've got opposite backgrounds then, because I was brought up a Catholic, decided very early on I didn't like it at all. And then I didn't become an atheist, but I just kind of gradually edged out of it. You said you got an invitation via the rosary. What do you mean? A lot of our audience won't understand what you're saying there.
So I was, walking through my park and I saw a group of people praying the rosary, and I decided to, join in. And that's what I mean when I said I got invited into the rosaries, because of those people in the park that were praying that, if you get what I'm trying to say.
No. So you're walking through the park, you see people praying the rosary. So they're in the park, a group of people. How many people?
About say 10.
Okay, and is this something that they regularly do, go outside, or was it because of what was going on in the world at the time?
I mean, it's normally like a summer thing. They do it like in May and June. So they would.
And you felt drawn to it, which is quite interesting because a lot of people, at that age would just think, oh, who are those weirdos, and carry on walking, Yeah. But you, for some reason, felt drawn to it. So, and you saw that as an invitation.
Yeah.
From Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you didn't really know about this religion at the time. So how did you recognize that?
Well, I mean, I'm not sure how to answer that. I think the best answer I can give was the rosary is a very powerful prayer, and it's just a powerful prayer. It can actually convert lots of people to the faith. I mean, there's many people that haven't heard the rosary before, and when they've heard it, it actually made them convert to Catholicism.
So to me, as a Catholic, being brought up Catholic, the rosary is the Hail Mary being said over and over. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so did you have to make your first Holy Communion and have to take your first confession and all that?
Well, I did my communion when I was young. That was before I kind of left the church, and then so I did my communion, but I didn't do my confirmation.
Yeah.
So the school I went to was Catholic, but it was kind of kind of relaxed Catholic, if you get what I
Yeah.
mean.
Yeah.
We would do like the prayers like at the in the morning and then in the evening before we go home. So that was how I was probably introduced to the all the prayers and stuff. So I did my communion when I was young, but I didn't do my confirmation, but I'm planning to make it next year.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't keen on the confirmation. The bishop gives you a slap around the face, which I didn't really like very much. Did you know that he gives you a little tap on the cheek? I don't know. I just didn't really like the rituals and stuff. I didn't really understand them. But I think you're 17 now, so you're a bit older. But when you're kind of plunged into this sort of these weird rituals when you're 7 years old, like I was, it frightens you. It puts you off.
Yeah. When I was younger, I was scared of the church. I didn't know what mass was. Like, I didn't understand why they were like doing like these the way in mass you have like these like choir service, like they play like the big piano and that kind of like scared me. And I like
the organ. It's the organ, yeah, awful.
Yeah.
Terrifying. It was like something out of a horror film. And you've got the priests, the men in black, very stern usually. I went to a convent school as well, so again, quite for me as the sort of child I was very, very unusual and difficult. So I kind of rejected it. But I think if you choose to go into it, any religion at a later date when you're a little bit older, then it's a different matter altogether, isn't it? So like I said earlier about choice of religion, you've got quite a lot to say about the transgender agenda, and generally from what I've seen on your posts, it's from a Catholic viewpoint. Am I right?
Yeah.
So I mean, a lot of our audience will be totally on side with you and your beliefs. A few won't be, but most will be. Can you tell us a little bit about your view on the whole transgender agenda from when you first heard about it?
Well, I feel like, there's only two genders. God created genders, man and woman. And I feel like, people that are doing transgenderism, I feel like they're destroying their bodies. I mean, it can cause like depression, it can cause all sorts of diseases. I don't feel like it's a good idea to do it.
Yeah. But do you think that children should be allowed to choose their gender? Because they say that that sex is different to gender. Do you agree with that?
I don't think children should decide their gender. I mean, if you're either born male or female, there's no like in between. But in like very, 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 very rare circumstances, you are like born both, but that's very rare though. I mean, that's
called intersex, where you're born with like male and female organs and body parts and stuff, and that's a different thing. In fact, I did actually know an intersex person. Sadly, he committed suicide a couple of years ago, but he said in his brain he felt half male, half female, totally. And when I met him, he'd been brought up as male, but you could definitely see there was. Do you know what he reminded me of? Actually, he reminded me of a nun. It was like kind of almost sexless rather than, both male and female, and a very lovely, gentle person as well. So, and you've also got very strong views on the whole immigration stuff. As we can see what's going on in Ireland at the moment. Can you share your views on that with us?
I feel like immigration, needs to be regulated. We need like our sovereignty back, and then we need to take control of our borders and like regulate immigration. Like, try to look after our own people first. We have like 13,000 Irish homeless on the streets, and they're not getting any accommodation. But like the likes of the Ukrainians and all, they're all getting like free money and free accommodation. And I just don't like that. And I feel like if you have too much immigration, your country will lose its culture and identity, and that's seen in Ireland and all of Europe.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously the Irish have a very, very strong culture, and I've been quite disappointed with the Irish people, I must say, being Irish myself. And that goes back to the smoking ban in 2006 or 2007. And I was just thinking, I was going over to Ireland at the time to visit a cousin, and I was thinking, well, the Irish aren't going to stand for that, because they all like a pint and a cigarette, And and they all actually complied. They were all complying. And I'd gone to the pub with my cousin, and I couldn't believe that they're all standing outside having a cigarette, you know. I mean, obviously smoking's not good for you, but that's not the point. It's like, you know, they were actually complying with the rules, which my dad didn't do. And that's another story. But yeah, so, and then with the whole pandemic, they seem to be exceptionally compliant. Now, I have a theory that you know, the Irish water is incredibly fluoridated. There's a lot of fluoride.
That's what I'm thinking too. And I think British waters are fluoridated too. I think it is. Sure.
But were you disappointed that the Irish people were so compliant?
Totally, because of our rebellious, you know, nature against authoritarian regimes. I mean, it's kind of shocking, really, that they didn't rebel against, you know, the scamdemic and stuff.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you actually that one of my ancestors, it was my dad's great uncle. He's called Jacqui Deevoy. He was a Fenian Irish rebel. He was also a journalist. He was the editor of some papers in America. He was jailed a lot. I mean, he had a busy time. And it's like, you know,
I've heard of him, yeah.
Say?
I've heard of him. I'm reading a book about one of, you know, 1916 leaders.
Yeah, well, he's one of the guys. He's one of the guys. He used to hang out with that lot, you know. And he was, called Jacqui Deevoy. It was one E because we had an E added along the way, probably about 100 years ago. But yeah, his story, when you read it, I've got his biography here, and he was in jail a lot of his life, and you read about what he did in his life. He lived into his 80s, but it makes me feel incredibly lazy. It's like, bloody hell, you know, he's done so much. You know, he never got married, and he never had kids, so he wasn't distracted. I've got the book though. I'll send you the link to on Amazon. Well, we don't have to buy it on Amazon, but the title of the book is it's a really interesting book. I kind of want to make it into a film, but with a film you need a love interest, and he didn't really have one. Actually, he did have one, and then they were separated, and he was put in jail, and then he'd heard that she got married. And then when they're in their 80s, they met up again, and she hadn't actually got married. It was someone else that he'd heard about. So that could be the little love thing going through it. But I digress. But I just want to thank you very much for coming out. Oh, before you go, actually, I want to ask, what are your ambitions and what do you want to do as you get older? I'm not going to say what you want to do when you grow up, because you're obviously grown up. But, you know, when you get older, you know, where do you see yourself going?
I mean, I'm still thinking about it, really. I think, and you know, I need more time to think about it. And I have a few ideas, but I'm not going to announce them yet, though.
Yeah, I mean, nobody knows what they want to do when they're 17. You know, I'm 61. I still haven't got a clue what I want to do when I grow up, or if I'm ever going to grow up. But yeah, whatever you choose to do, I'm sure you're going to do it very well. And I just want to say thank you very much for coming.
You're very welcome, and thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it. Maybe you could come on to my podcast sometime.
Oh God, yeah, I didn't even mention you. We have been flashing up the different channels that you've got. I mean, you've got podcasts on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, and you've got a YouTube channel as well. Well, one wasn't banned, is that right?
2 of them are banned, but I have a new one.
Good. It's a badge of honor getting bans anyway. That's good. We like that on this show. I would love to come on your show. I mean, you've interviewed some great people. I was watching your interview earlier with Dr. Andrew Kaufman, which is great, actually. So you're all up on the germ theory hoax and everything.
Yeah, and I did one of, do you know Mark Windows? We did one about, you know, the smart cities and stuff, and then that got over 16K views on Rumble alone.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Okay. I'm going to share some of your stuff on Twitter later as well, so hopefully you get a few more views. I used to work on the next table to Mark Windows actually 10 years ago. So yeah, he's a great guy. I keep meaning to get him on the show as well. Did you find him good to chat to?
Absolutely. I'm trying to get him back on again soon.
He's great. He is really good. But yeah, and you're really good as well. And thank you so much for coming on. And I'll talk to you after. And I'll talk to you again soon. Thank you. Thanks, Josh.
I'm delighted. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Josh McKinney, the Irish patriot. Amazing. 17 years old. He's going to go far, that boy. My next guest is Jonathan Ram. Hello, Jonathan.
Hello, Jacqui. Can you hear me?
So nice to hear you and see you. You managed to get all the visuals sorted in the end.
No, I didn't. I'm on my phone rather than the laptop.
Oh, right. Okay.
The laptop defeated me. So, apologies if the picture's not very good.
God, it's so noisy around here tonight. It sounds like I've got a tank going by. Anyway, it's gone now. Well, so, how are you?
I'm very well, and thank you for inviting me onto your show. It's great to speak to you.
And you, we had a little chat earlier on the phone, which was good.
Yes.
And so you are a thalidomide victim. You and I are the same age, so I'm very familiar, with, like I said to you earlier, there was a girl in my year at school who was a thalidomide victim. We were all very aware of it. 2 of my boyfriends at the time, their mums had both been prescribed thalidomide but didn't take it, but obviously a lot of women did. And a lot of the women that did take the drug for morning sickness, for viewers who aren't aware, it was prescribed to women in the early stage of pregnancy to relieve morning sickness. And obviously your mum took the drug, and and you were injured as a result of that.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
So I've been prepping this show, it feels like, for a couple of weeks now, since we reached out to on Twitter, and we had some communication on Twitter. So as you rightly say, that the drug primarily was prescribed for morning sickness. Yet if you read into some of the research, it was never tested on pregnant women or pregnant mice or anything. So even though back in those days, it came out in 1957, even though back in those days it was known that things could cross over the placenta in the womb and damage fetuses, children, babies. And as I was saying earlier, we, the survivors, victims, I don't have a problem with the word victim, because that's how I feel. We number about 450 in the UK, but I honestly believe there was hundreds, if not thousands, that died because back in the 60s, infanticide, if I pronounce that correct, was still a thing. And in fact, I was put out on the cold table outside the hospital.
Let me just interrupt there for people. What is that noise? It sounds like we've got gerbils having their lunch. Is that your microphone?
I think there may be some electronic interference. Just stand by.
I think it's probably just loose. It sounds like a loose connection or something. Anyway.
Yeah, there's interference from the line.
Yeah.
So, can you take the laptop away?
Yeah, I think it was just like it was like moving around or something.
Yeah.
the joys of a live show. We love it.
Yeah.
That's fine. Yeah, we're getting a little bit. I don't know what it is. It sounds like. No, I don't know what that is actually. Let me just liaise with my technical man in the background. If he can do anything, I'm sure he will. But anyway, I think just keep very still. That's it. He's turned off your microphone at the moment. Oh, yeah, it's definitely your microphone causing the problem.
Is it my microphone?
Yeah, when we turn yours on, it starts making the gerbil noises again.
Oh, hang on now. How's that?
Oh, that sounds good. What have you done?
No. I'm getting it when you speak, and you're getting it when I speak.
Oh, right. That's interesting.
Oh, okay. No, there you go.
If I talk really quietly, that's it. I think that's it. Maybe I shouldn't shout. I'm too shouty. Okay, let's carry on and see how we do anyway. So you're talking about infanticide, like you're saying back in the late 50s, early 60s, it was almost, well, not many people know this, but it was almost acceptable for people to kill their babies if they were deemed to be or seen to be disabled. So like you said, you were left out on a cold table. Like to you, that's something that just falls off your tongue like it's normal. People will be, what do you mean left out on a cold table? What cold table? Can you explain?
Yeah, no, so that was the normal practice. And sometimes even the mothers wouldn't be aware. It would be something the midwife would do. If it was kind of a test, if you like, if the baby survived, then you survived. My mum sensed that something, the story she tells me, she sensed that something was wrong. and she demanded to see me, and that was the reason I was brought in from the cold table. I've lost you, Jacqui. I can't hear you.
My mic has been muted. There we go. Have you got me now?
I've got you now. Yep.
Good. Yeah. Yeah. So you were born and you were visibly disabled. I don't know what the right word to use is, but
you can use any word you like, Jacqui. You won't offend me.
No, but I don't really like the word disabled. There must be a better. Anyway, so you were visibly not like what we call a normal baby.
I had a twisted limb. It was all up on my stomach, connected to genitalia and stuff like that. Between, I don't want to jump ahead too far, but between being born and 8 years old, I had something like 13 operations to try and straighten out the deformities that I had, missing bones, additional toes. And yeah, that's why I would have been put out on the cold table, because as far as midwife and doctor I can't say for certain, may have considered that I would have been better off not being born.
So you're saying it was not your mother. So your mother hadn't actually seen you.
She hadn't seen me. No.
Right. So you were born. Was it a difficult birth? Did she say?
No, she didn't say. It's just, I think mothers sense something, there's that connection. And so she demanded to see me, and then pretty much protected me to ensure that I wasn't put back out on the cold table.
Wow, isn't that shocking that the doctors and nurses were making those decisions without consulting the mother?
Yeah.
And what did you have? I mean, was your father around at the time as well, or was your mum?
Well, he was a hard-working post office man. Yeah. My mum got taken to the hospital as soon as the shift finished. He got there. Pretty much all of this had happened prior to that.
And obviously there were no scans at the time, so there was no warning of anything like that.
No, exactly. And
even twins, people didn't know when they're having twins or triplets back then, did they? It was just always a surprise. So you were born, you were taken away. Your mother didn't even get to see you, or your father, and then your mother had a feeling something wasn't right, as mothers do. And what happened after that?
So she insisted that I stay with her. She didn't let me out of her sight. A few days later, generally people stayed in hospital for a few days back in those days. I was taken home, and then life sort of started, and obviously I was severely disabled. As I said, my left leg was a complete and utter mess. And then the surgery started. The medical.
Did your mum when did your mum get the idea that it was something to do with the drugs she took, or did she not realize that for a long time or ever? So
I wasn't accepted as thalidomide damaged until I was 16, 17. My mum, from very early on, particularly, I was born in 61. There was articles and stuff from 57 onwards. Certainly 62, things started to happen. I think you naturally, when something like that, because people do get born with deformities naturally.
Yeah.
But I think she thought there was something wrong. And what she remembers, what she remembers was morning sickness. What she remembers is going to the doctor and the doctor prescribing her this drug, of which seemed to cure her morning sickness, seemed to make her feel better.
So it did actually work. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the thing about the drug. It's got other.
And honestly, I've had 4 children myself, so I completely understand. You can get like really, really severe morning sickness. For anyone who's never had it, for men in the room, or not trans men, obviously, but men. Trans men can get pregnant and can have morning sickness, but anyway. And also, actually, having said that, some men suffer a thing called couvard when their partners have morning sickness. They have the symptoms as well.
Sort of like a sympathetic morning
sickness. Thing. Yeah. Anyway, it's going off there a bit, but yeah, some morning sickness is hideous. It's like the worst hangover times 100, right? It's absolutely awful. So I can imagine if someone said, look, just take this tablet, you'll be fine, you would go for it. I had a friend who had it was called, she had hyperemesis, which means she was vomiting all day, every day for 9 months throughout the whole pregnancy. And it's like, you know, absolutely horrendous. So I can absolutely understand why someone would take the drug as you could.
Yeah. I mean,
but with thalidomide, the women didn't even take it for very long, did they?
No, I mean, I'm very fortunate. I alluded to it earlier when we were talking, Jacqui, that I'm one of the least damaged thalidomide victims, and that's because my mum didn't take much of the drug. And also, when you took the drug or whereabouts in the gestation cycle depends on what limbs were affected. So you know,
so I'm totally fascinated by this. Were they prescribing the drug even if someone had morning sickness, a bit more unusual, like 4 or 5 months or something? Would they still prescribe it at that stage?
They would prescribe it at any point in the pregnancy. Yeah.
And really, so what's the latest that you've heard about that they actually prescribed it? At what point in the gestation?
I couldn't answer that. I mean, you know, there's people who have all 4 limbs affected, and I'm not a doctor or biologist, but my understanding is that limbs grow at different times during gestation, during the pregnancy. So if they had all 4 limbs affected, then that pretty much suggests that that's a long time during the, you know, a long way into the pregnancy.
Right.
And then, you know, there's other effects, internal organs, eyes, ears, you know, skeletal structures. So it's
which is something you found out a bit later, wasn't it? That it wasn't just your legs that were affected. Was it both of your legs that are affected, or just
so? Yeah. So one of the points that hopefully we'll come on to is, so the obvious is my left leg, but also, so I have the whole femur, the whole thigh bone remaining, but it's shorter than the other one. But I've learned over the years that, you know, my other right leg, the good leg, has got some pretty much significant damage internally as well. You know, and I've had operations pretty much on every joint on my right leg. You know, there was some genitalia issues as well. We don't know internally. We've been, you know, we've been offered scans to have a look internally. I'm not really sure I want to know, to be honest. And then, you know, my shoulders, my eyes, my ears, they've all been affected, you know. So it's an argument. Supposedly your wingspan, if you hold your arms out, is your height. Well, my wingspan is less than my height by a significant margin.
God, I've never heard that. Everyone's going to be now getting the tape measure out. Hold on, I'm just going to remind.
Apparently, if you get a long table or a wall and you do your wingspan and measure it, that roughly
is that for men and women?
My understanding, yeah.
That's really interesting, isn't it? Oh, I've never heard that before. But like you said earlier, you said there's 450 people. Is that in the UK or in England?
So there's thousands, if not hundreds of thousands worldwide, because the drug was distributed worldwide.
Just in
the UK, it's 450 that we know about. There may be people who don't know, you know, that they are thalidomide.
That really surprised me when you said that earlier, because it's like, it's a lot of people to have been injured by a drug, obviously, but I thought it would be a lot more than that. Because
I personally think there's a lot of people who died. You know, I think
yes, of course, yeah.
But for the reasons that we were talking about earlier about the cold table, I think there was people who didn't go to full term, so miscarriages. You know, it had a dreadful effect on fetuses, and you know, I honestly believe you know, that there's probably hundreds of thousands of babies that never got born that probably should have got born.
Because of course back then in the late 50s, early 60s, people trusted the doctors, you know, and if the doctor said, oh, you've had a miscarriage, that's just the way it goes sometimes, women then would go, oh, thank you, doctor, you know, and that would be the end of it.
And that miscarriage may have been a severely deformed fetus. The doctor isn't, you know, you'd like to think a doctor would think, well, why? But, you know, that's just what happened, you know, in those days. You know, it's miscarriage because it's deformed. I'm trying to not use that word, but you know, it's a deformed fetus. So the doctor's going, oh yeah, but it's a miscarriage because of that. That's a good job.
Yeah, I mean, I was told myself when I had miscarriages, it wasn't that long ago, but that, you know, oh, well, that's just the body's way of, you know, if a blighted ovum, they said.
Right.
Yeah. Blighted ovum. So it means that there was something wrong and that the body would, but obviously that's not the case because, you know, a lot of disabled people are born, you know, so the body doesn't naturally rid itself of a baby that maybe has something wrong with its leg or its eye or its ear. You know, it doesn't work like that. Of course, now, you know, it's a very different matter with scans and terminations. I've got quite sort of strong views on that. We haven't talked about that, but you know, these days a lot of people would think, they'd see a scan and think, oh, my baby's leg is something wrong with it, you know, and maybe, you know, if it was severe, like in your case, that, you know, you would have been got rid of basically if there'd been scans and free terminations back then. Does that affect your view on abortion and stuff like that?
Well, I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic, and you know, I believe in life, but I also believe that people have a freedom. You know, it's always a difficult. It's that dreaded question that politicians always shy away from, giving a yes or no answer. And you know, me and my wife are Catholic, and we wouldn't, but I understand why people would. You know, so.
Yeah, we were talking earlier because you said your kids might interrupt tonight, and so a lot of people listening listening to what you said and what you've been through, and your disabilities, that you would maybe not have been able to form relationships or get married or have kids or whatever. But you said that, you know, as when we spoke earlier, you were saying how it really affected your self-esteem as a child and a teenager, but it was only in later life that you kind of
so kids are cruel. I mean, you know, going through school with you know, with disability was tough, but it toughened me up. My dad was a military man and had served, and you know, he in his way, he you know, tried to toughen me up by, you know, making jokes about it and stuff like that. You know, the classic one, he'd say, you know, hop off to bed, you know, and in the mornings he'd come in and say, right, time to pull yourself together and pass me my artificial leg, you know. But that kind of toughened you up. But it was hard, and you know, when you then go through, you know, the change as a man into, you know, your testosterone starts pumping, and you know, you're attracted to the opposite sex. You know, forming relationships. I didn't necessarily have a great body image. Didn't think maybe I was attractive to the other sex. So yeah, those things were difficult, and I think I threw myself into testing myself, sport-wise, hobby-wise. You know, I did a lot of things. I did some traveling, just, you know, because you don't think you have something to offer to the opposite sex. And so I have had my children late in life. You know, my feelings about myself changed. You know, I met a wonderful woman who saw me for me and not my disability. And you know, I've ended up with two beautiful princesses, and you know, that's the center of my life. You know, and I've become active in. I mean, in my early years, I didn't want to know anything about thalidomide, the reasons why I was here, the reasons why I was the way I was.
Why was that? Why was that? Why didn't you want to know?
I think protection of my mind, maybe. You know, it's a hard thing to get your head around, that your mum didn't feel well, went to a doctor that you would trust, and you end up getting a drug that deforms your baby, and that's a hard thing, I think, to understand, that then the government and the distributors and the manufacturers didn't want to know. And it's been there was a fight going on for many years to get compensation, and I just don't understand, in a, you know, with the 5th largest economy, why you know, the corruptions and cover-ups went about. You know, surely it's kind of, you hold your hands up, you say, yeah, okay, this has happened, it wasn't our intention to hurt people, but we have, so let's make it right. And that's always been a difficult one for me to get my head around, why that didn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just looking at, we've got some technical problems there. Can you see me on the screen?
I can't see you on the screen. I can hear you well, but I can't see you.
No, it's like I've disappeared out of my room. I don't know why. There's the empty room, but I'm not there. But anyway, I haven't run off on you. I'm actually still here, so that's good. I'm quite happy not looking at myself for 5 minutes. It's fine. So yeah, so it's obviously like you said, the government haven't really taken any responsibility, and you rely as a thalidomide victim on charities.
Well, yes, I mean it's people will call it compensation. If you Google it, people will say, "Oh, well, you've been well compensated." Well, we haven't, because it's 450 people. There's a fund, and every year when I survive to April, I get more money. It's not a great deal of money, you know. I always say to people, well, if you had a child that was born with 4 limbs missing or injured by medical, it's not a medical negligence, say in the course of birth, but by the drugs given to you by a government doctor. You know, I always say to people, what would you want? You know, what would compensate you for the damage and for the loss of the ability to live your life as others do. And so that's a hard one. So we get some money, but it's based on surviving every year. It's not my money. It's a charity. It has charity status, and it's called the Thalidomide Trust. And we have no control on the money that's invested or how it's invested. I can't have all my money. So if I was going to live to 84, for example, I can't have the next 22 years of money up front. I got to wait for a year. So I can't build a legacy for my family. I'm a retired civil servant. I wasn't very active while I was a civil servant because I didn't want to jeopardize my job. But I'm very active now in trying to get a message out to get hopefully people to listen, hopefully for someone in government to listen, that, you know, what we get, it's not compensation, it's charity. And I think in a country that's the 5th largest economy, that dictates to other people about democracy, that is just a shocking stain on our social life, on our society.
I don't know if, can you hear me still? Even though, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah.
Can't see you, but I can hear you.
I know I've disappeared completely. This is the first, but I don't mind. I can see my lovely technical man in the background despair.
Yes, all the ferns. Yeah.
I like the ferns. I'm happy looking at the ferns and tired of looking at myself, like I said. But like I said, you must see some parallels now with the recent, you know, huge vaccine injury thing that's going on. Obviously, it's not the same. I'm saying vaccine, the jab injuries. Obviously, there were jab injuries. The fund was set up originally, a government fund, back in 1979, I think. And since then, they've paid out 74 million, I think, which is nothing. It's absolutely nothing. No. But the claims that have been made in the last 2.5 years, for the C19 jab, shall we say, injection, is many times more than all of the other claims put together.
Jacqui, I see so many parallels. I really do. I mean, one of the things that supposedly came out of the thalidomide scandal was that there was the testing and that this wouldn't happen again. But, you know, C19 has just shown, you know, they tried to hide the Pfizer papers for 75 years.
Yeah.
Well, they've hidden ours for 100 years. We can't get access to the papers.
Really? I didn't know that.
And why is 100? Yeah, 100 years. Originally back in from, I think it was 76. So 100 years to 2076. We can't get access to papers about ourselves. And nobody's, you know, you're the first person that's invited us to speak. We can't get anyone to listen. And it's same. I mean, you know, why do you hide papers? It's because you're hiding the truth. You're hiding the corruption. You're hiding the cover-ups. And
how is that allowed? How is that? Who gave permission for the papers to be hidden for 100 years? That's outrageous.
I mean, how can somebody live with themselves knowing that they're hiding? And you know, me and the small band that's trying to change things. You know, one of the things that we say is that, you know, why do you not want us to know the truth? And we know what it is. That politicians, people of influence, let's leave it at that. People of influence will have been invested in distillers, the original people who distributed the drug, and we know that certain people with COVID and the vaccines were invested in Pfizer. And,
yeah, I was going to say, what was the name of the company that actually manufactured the drug and the company that?
So that's Chemie. That's a German company called Chemie Grünenthal.
Yeah.
And that, well, that's another interesting story, Jackie.
Tell me.
So there's a great book called the Thalidomide Catastrophe. By Dr. Martin Johnson, who was one of the directors of the trust back in the day. Brilliant book, well written. He links the scientific studies into this drug to northern French concentration camps in World War II.
Yeah.
Right back down to the scientists being employed by Grünenthal, and patents being placed because there's a whole series of drugs in the same group. And so when all this came to light from 57, 61, 62, got withdrawn about 62, the drug was originally given to members of Grünenthal workforce who started reporting as early as 57, were saying, we're getting babies born with defects.
Yeah.
And nothing was done. And eventually in the 70s, there was a prosecution was attempted on the company. The German government prosecutor, mid-trial, switched sides, and then a law was brought. So the action was defeated, and a law was brought in by the German government to protect Grünenthal from ever being sued by anybody. I mean, it's just, I mean, how corrupt is that? You know, I mean, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah.
So they manufactured the drug. The drug was distributed by a group called Distillers that then became Guinness and is now called Diageo by different government takeovers, company takeovers.
Yeah.
And they distributed. Now, the board of distillers, I did have a lovely picture. I can send it to you another day. When you look at this picture, nearly every member of the board is a knighted sir. And you have to kind of ask, why is that? You know, so this people would have been invested in distillers back in the day at a very high level. You know, and that's why I believe that's the truth. Why there was a cover up. No action was taken for 10 years. They didn't want to know. Our parents went to see Enoch Powell, who was a health minister at the time. He wouldn't even talk to them. And successive government.
I was going to ask you at the time. It must have been Enoch Powell. God, this is such a huge subject. And what's stuck in my head there is you said that no one's asked you to talk about it until now. We're bloody 60 years old, you know, and it's something that's always been, you know, I've been aware of, obviously being the same age as you, and you know, that whole, it could have been me, you know, and like I said earlier, with my boyfriends, that, you know, back in the day, their mums had been prescribed it as well, you know, but they didn't take it. That was my whole knowledge of it until I met a girl at school at 11 who was a thalidomide victim as well. I told you about her, so you might cross paths with her at some point, because I
don't know. You gave me the name earlier. I won't say it online, but
she's probably got a different.
I don't know it, but I'm sure my paths will cross at some point.
Yeah, no, I'm sure they will. But I want to thank you for coming on, but I would like to talk about this more at some point. So hopefully I can get you back on at a later date, because we obviously haven't got enough time. Half an hour is not enough to go into this. And also, I'm wearing, as someone said, my cloak of invisibility. Something strange is going on, and so apparently I have to go out and come in again, which means I've got to.
You've got to exit and come back. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm going to do that, and I think.
Well, I'd love to talk to you another time. I've got some.
Oh no, definitely, and stay in touch.
Got some quite strong political views as well. So.
Oh God, no! I'll definitely do that. We need to talk. Okay, it's been brilliant having you on, Jonathan. Thank you so much. And
thank you, Jackie, for having us. I do appreciate giving us the opportunity to, to speak about this. There is an ongoing group of us that are trying to get as much. And we're very much at the start of this, trying to get things changed and trying to become active about this and try and sort some stuff out. So I do appreciate you giving us the opportunity.
So thank you. Send me everything you've got, and then I can share it on Twitter as well. And you know, maybe at some point, I'm just thinking now. I've got the idea of a documentary in mind that we could do. Have there been many documentaries on the subject?
That would be fantastic. To sit down with you at length and discuss all the points that we've got would be a massive opportunity, Jacqui.
No, I'd love to do that, definitely. So stay in touch. Of course you will. I know we'll be in touch forevermore now. So
well, our views on Twitter are pretty similar. So
yeah, they are. I'm now going to slip into the back room, take off my cloak of invisibility, and reappear as if by magic. So thank you very much, Jonathan, for coming on, and I'll speak to you soon. Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
So.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you.
Don't you know, bump it up, you got to bump it up. Don't you know, bump it up, you got to bump it up. Don't you know, bump it up, you got to bump it up.
What's he doing?
You need to come out of the software and come back in because we can't see you, Jacqui. There we are. Jacqui's left us now, so she won't be too long. I don't know whether to play another little clip or not before we go. But we have actually. I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you guys our next guest that's coming on has got some brilliant portraits. So I'm just going to put that on. Oh, Jacqui's back in. I'm coming out.
God knows what he was doing there behind my back, but I did actually manage to go to the loo, which is great. Don't normally do that in the middle of a show. Sorry about that, technical difficulties. It wasn't actually technical difficulties. I do actually possess a cloak of invisibility, which I use regularly. So I don't know what Simon was showing you there. It was probably all kinds of nonsense. Anyway, introducing my next guest, Frances O'Neill. Frances, hello.
Hey.
We're like old friends now, aren't we?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, even though
I didn't know you had an invisibility cloak though.
Oh no, I do. Haven't you got one?
No.
I know you have, but you just can't tell anyone. I know. But anyway, we all have one. We need one. But I don't know what happened there. It was very bizarre. But I quite enjoyed it actually, because it meant I didn't have to look at myself all the time when I'm talking. It's quite disconcerting. But the reason I got you, well, I've always been aware of you. You've always been on the periphery of my vision there, doing your activism. And obviously, when I interviewed Abby Roberts the other week, you cropped up in the conversation. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. I watched that interview.
Yeah,
good.
And she's a big fan of yours. So I thought, I'm going to look at this guy. So I started like nosing around like I do. And then I thought, oh my God, he paints. And then I looked at your art, and it's art, by the way, and it's I really, really liked it. It's really kind of resonated with me, just the style of it. I'm not an expert by any means, but it's look at that. I mean, these are just amazing pictures. Let's just look at the picture. Oh, he's nice. I like him. Just a lot of I recognize him, Eric Cantona. I like him, the man in the hood.
Yes, Dave.
I just love them. Who was it?
Dave a lot during lockdown. Dave was a guy I met sitting out. He used to sit outside the co-op, and I asked him to come in and sit for a class that I was teaching.
He's
and
great.
Then,
what a face! What a face!
Great friends with Dave.
I love that one as well. There's something very kind of very old about that one.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, I love that one. More. I could sit and look at your paintings all night. I just think they're so lovely. There he is again.
There's Dave. Yeah, I tried to make him look different in each one. There's Ruby.
These are just lovely. The composition, the colors. It's like I'm
I
going to
tried
ask
to make it. I think with some of these portraits though, like I was just trying to develop. I was making paint, and I was trying to develop the paint making skills and the techniques. So I wasn't trying to be too interested in it. And I also thought that if the painting was good enough and it was just a person, it would carry no matter what. So almost like being deliberately boring in a way, but trying to bring something out of the person in terms of the color. But I've got other ones that are landscapes, and I've worked in schools and done all kinds of exciting things with pastels and paint and stuff with the different things that maybe not on this, but this is just a few years work that I've got on my website, but there's different chapters there elsewhere.
Are you actually like attracted to certain types of faces? Or, I mean, obviously these people haven't come to you saying, paint me. You've pounced on them. And but I can see a common thread going through these.
It was more like I was teaching classes as well, so in the evenings and things like this, or do the odd day class, and people would obviously people are looking for part-time jobs if they're students, or if they're just even if they're working, they just want to do a bit of get extra money in the evening. So I would just pick the ones that I sort of got on with from the models that came through the classes that I was teaching, and then I'd ask them to sit for me in the daytime or whenever there was convenient for them, and made a few paintings like that. So these are a series of portraits that I did, but there's other ones in there as well, landscapes and different things.
I'm just thinking, looking at these, it just makes you think that everyone's got an interesting face. Everyone's got a lovely face. Do you think you can actually... Oh, he looks a bit like my ex-husband. Anyway, moving swiftly.
His moustache was for this Movember thing people used to do.
Yeah, I could see that wasn't natural on in there. But do you think that you can see a person's personality or even their soul when you look at their face, or especially while you're painting them?
Well, I think I heard you talk about intuition earlier, and I think that plays into it a little bit in the sense that you do have an intuitive feel for people, don't you? Like when you meet people, and sometimes you gravitate towards people if you just happen to go to, say, a party and you're sitting next to someone or standing next to them, and you'll think, oh, I really like this person, I really get on with them, and you'll click with some people, and some people you just won't. And I think that we all pick up on little, and it's hard to say whether it's like perceiving the soul and things like that, and that sounds a bit like sort of grandiose, but I think we all pick up on little markers of movement. And I think people talk about conversation, who analyze conversation as being kind of like a dance of responses. So every movement or inflection of the eyes and mouth and nose is picked up on and responded to. And I think that we're doing that all the time in a myriad different ways, which, kind of makes it surprising when we might think that people's intuition fails them in various things that are going on at the moment. But so I think the other thing that happens is when you paint somebody, I try to get them, a lot of those paintings were done from sittings, like I'd have the person in front of me as I paint them. Now there's the difficulties there is sometimes that they'll look the face will fall or get flat or whatever, but it's your job to try and make it a bit more lively if that's what you want to do, or to speak to them or to get conversation going. But if you're looking at someone for a long time, and I think this is something that happens with television as well, is that you tend to look at, I think I've figured this out. We'll see what you make of this. When you look at someone for a long time, you tend to look at people that you care about for a long time. You don't tend to look at people you don't care about. So there's a growing intimacy when you and so I've heard about teachers, because I've worked occasionally for like little bits and bobs in schools, and the teachers would say that if they had a difficult student in a class and it came to time to do an exercise, they would sit with that student and get them to draw each other, so the teacher would draw the student and vice versa. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to dislike somebody or to like hold animosity if you're, it's like if you have a staring contest, someone will always giggle, you know what I mean? So it does, if there's just the two of you and one's looking at the other, one of you has to get comfortable with, or both of you have to get comfortable with being looked at, and there becomes a kind of a trust there, and it breaks down certain barriers.
That reminds me, I didn't mention this earlier. I mean, we chatted a bit earlier, but we could have chatted for hours, but I had a boyfriend, and I used to like drawing people, and I used to like drawing him, and he loved me drawing him. He said it kind of tickled. He said he loved me just drawing him. He was also in a band, and he used to like me going to watch him. I had to stand right at the front so he could see me watching him. So obviously he had a little bit of a narcissistic thing going on, but not in an unpleasant way. he just loved being watched. And so when I was drawing him, he was just in heaven. He just said it felt so nice. And I've never actually looked at it, apart from them at that point, from the model's point of view, you know. So it's not about narcissism, it's about being tickled. Would you agree?
Well, I think that I think maybe, I don't know about your ex-boyfriend, but I think there's something in it whereby people are responding to a lot of us go through life unseen, you know, like no one notices you, like if you're traveling and through London or on the bus, and you know, and people don't notice you and pay you any attention or any mind, or you don't have any status or whatever it might be. I'm just surmising various things that could happen to a person. And then if you're recording somebody for posterity and you're paying them like as much attention as you're capable of paying them, then that validates their existence in some way and gives them importance. And I think that we're all looking to be seen and heard. And I think also, like in any relationship, if you feel kind of unheard or unseen, then it doesn't make you feel good, does it? So it's got to do the opposite.
That sounds a bit sad in a way, doesn't it? Like I would say, this example that I've given you, he was totally heard and totally seen. He was in a band, he was the editor of a music paper, but he still liked this kind of being seen, which was
I'm not saying that he wasn't. I'm not saying that he wasn't. I'm just saying that if one has the negative effect, then the attention will have a positive effect. So I think it's important to be seen. And then if he cared about you at the time and he was like going out with you, he wanted you to watch his performance, and it made him feel recognized and seen. And maybe there was something else in there as well, like people maybe are slightly titillated or turned on by it. I don't know, but
no, absolutely. There's the scene in the Titanic, you know, where there's the drawing scene, isn't there, where they're obviously both really enjoying it, and on that level, when there's this kind of romantic or sexual attachment, it can be quite titillating and quite exciting. But then when you go, I've done a lot of life drawing. I went to art college, went to a lot of life drawing classes as an adult as well. You do feel a connection with the model, you know, however you want to describe it, but there is always some kind of connection. And if you want to get a good portrait or a good drawing, you know, there has to be some kind of connection. Would you agree, or do you think you can just be completely cold and objective and you?
I don't think it. I mean, I don't think. I mean, I can only speak from my experience, but as a semi-functioning human being, I like to think that, you know, when you're drawing somebody, when you're interacting with them, there is an interaction of emotions and responses and things like that. So when I was doing classes and when I was teaching classes, I used to watch. So say if you've got 10 or 12 people in a room and they're all looking at one person, if that person comes in and they're miserable and doesn't engage and they're not then everybody is watching that person. And I would feel that it made the class flat. So I would pick the ones who were happy to be there, who enjoyed the modeling, who like were professional and kind of gave it some effort and weren't just doing it for the money and were like half-assed about it. So because I felt that it would transmit through the room, and I think that also has relevance in terms of whatever we look at, whether it's on the television screen and whatever is put out through the television screen or whatever, those have an effect on the viewer. And on the recipient all the time, and I would feel that in the room when people were drawing a life model or a portrait model.
I want to tell you a story, which is I don't know how I want you to react or whether you're going to react, and I didn't mention it earlier. But back in 1985, I went to a life drawing class in Rathbone Place, just off Oxford Street, and this person came in, you know, long blonde hair, tall, slim, stripped off. And it was probably the first transgender person I'd seen naked, probably. You know, I've seen a few since, but that's another story. And let's say they were tall, slim, long blonde hair, little boobs and male genitalia, and just laid down. And I thought, fine, whatever. I'm always been very open-minded, just thought, oh, that's a bit unusual. But then I couldn't get the picture to look right, you know. And even when I'd finished the drawing, it's like, oh, that looks a bit weird. It's like, but I did actually capture, you know, the image. But it was, anyway, I don't know why I told you that story. It just sprang to mind. But I think probably, you know, I don't know why I said that story. Do you want to comment on my story?
I think that if there's something disconcerting going on that's maybe in your head, like I feel like I think some people have that, and maybe they're right for themselves. Like they think that, okay, you've got to be full of passion and like that vim and vigor, and when you're drawing, you've got to be all with it and all that. But I think if you're trying to do something of those kind of the nature that I was showing you, like those portraits where there's you know, a high level of concentration involved, you can't really be thinking about whether you fancy somebody or whether there can't be too many distractions going on. You can't be like thrown. I mean, you have to get yourself in a place of almost like a channel. I was going to say calm detachment, but obviously, as I said before, we're not unemotional beings. You are picking up on stuff all the time, but you're trying to be a channel for what you see, and you're trying to concentrate. And like you have to be in the zone. Like Roger Federer, he's not thinking about what he's having for dinner and what is the argument with his wife or whatever when he's playing tennis. He's got to be in the zone. He's got to be in that flow state. If you're trying to be in the flow state and you're thinking this is a bit weird, or like I wasn't expecting that, and I've been a bit or even if you're just thinking, I hope this looks like what it looks like. And
that was it. I mean, if you would, I mean, obviously, you know, you probably have done life drawings with transgender models now. I don't know, but if you, but you do, whether you want to or not, you do have a kind of preconceived notion of how the picture is supposed to look, and the picture is not looking like that. It's looking like a naked transgender person. We didn't even have the word transgender then. There wasn't a word in 1985 or 86, whenever it was, when I was drawing this person. And it was just, but when I showed the picture to people afterwards, they were like, is that a man or a woman? I was like, I don't know. It's just a drawing of a person, you know. There's another thing I wanted to mention. Sorry, I'm rambling on a bit now. I told you this would happen. But I went to a life drawing class once, and there's this, I walked in, I was a little bit late. I walked in, there's a guy sitting there posing. I thought, oh, he's quite hot, you know, nice looking man. And spend, you know, an hour or so drawing and having the class. And after the class, when he got dressed, I went, oh, it's a gay man. And it was only when I saw him with his clothes on that I could see he was gay. Isn't that weird? Because of course, naked, we're all the same, aren't we?
That is weird. I mean, I think I suppose it's that if you could pick up on his mannerisms and so on, then you're not going to see them so much when he's still and he's posing for your life drawing. But just picking up on what you said about preconceived notions, I think that's another thing. If you've got a preconceived notion of what, I mean, you have to have to some extent, because you, like, say, if you pick up a pencil or a painting, you've got an idea that you've got a preconception that you're going to make a painting and a drawing in. But if it's too controlled and contrived, then it's almost like life. You can't have a preconceived notion of what your life's going to be, what's going to happen today. You can't control it to that extent. You've got to allow a little bit of give. You've got to and just see what comes out. And sometimes that can be distorted by your own. Let's say you're frustrated with the drawing's going to look frustrated. I used to teach, so I used to like walk around the class and like and offer my tuition to when I felt someone needed it. So I'd be looking at the drawings thinking, did they need me to bother them at the moment? Probably not. The next one, okay, I'll speak to you. And when you're doing that, you get to see people's drawings of the same subject from all the different angles. And you'd see, and the drawings would look a little bit like the person drawing them, in the sense that if somebody was a tense person, the drawing would be tense. If someone was relaxed and chilled or whatever, they have a very relaxed sort of attitude. You can't manifest something in a creative sense that doesn't have the energy that you arrive with. Yeah. So the preconceptions, they can get in the way. You have to you can only be what you are, and you can only express what's inside you. And so, like, you can obviously improve. And I think with any discipline, whether it's playing guitar or say ballet dancing or something like that, you almost have to get this phrase. It might be a bit of a cliche. Is get yourself out of the way, so that if there's too much ego in there, or too much angst, or too much awareness of performance. Like, say, for example, with your transgender guy, if you're thinking, oh, it has to look like a transgender, it can't look like a man, too much like a man, or too much like a woman. If you become too aware of your performance, it's a bit like the difference between dancing in your bedroom when no one can see you and dancing, on a stage. You might become petrified by one, and you might be quite liberated by another. So it's just that's where the performance pressure and anxiety comes in.
I've just thought of another story. Sorry, I'm being a bit boring tonight, but we've got a lot of time, so we'll be fine.
Okay.
Do you remember when I spoke to you earlier on the phone about the art teacher guy, the Portuguese guy, Nelson Ferreira, who was my teacher for a bit? And it just came back to me, and I told you my son was a good artist. So my son at this point was about 11 or 12, And Nelson had set up a life drawing class down in Regent Street in London and said, do you want to come along? And I said, well, come, my son come. He's young. He's like, I think he was 11 actually at the time. And he said, yeah, fine. And I didn't know it was going to be like a naked life drawing class. So we were sat there, and this really fit looking black guy came onto the platform and got into some really interesting poses. And my son's sitting there going, oh my God, Mum, this is so embarrassing. And I'm like, just draw, you know? And he's like, okay. And he's like, oh my God, I can see his bum. And I'm like, just be calm. It's fine. It's life drawing. Anyway, he did some really good drawings that day, and much better than mine. And the teacher was very impressed. But I was very proud of him for overcoming that initial embarrassment, which reminds me of when I was first at art college. The first life drawing class we had, which was a woman, and the boys in the class, we were like 16, 17, you know, we're at tech college. They were like guffawing and sniggering, you know, and it was like really funny. But that's just human nature, all that. And within 5 minutes, it's just, well, to me, it was just fine. But there's that initial sort of embarrassment, isn't there, when it comes to
yeah, because I remember going to my first one. So I was at school, and we didn't have life drawing or anything like that at my school. And the art teacher, I was just started my A levels, I think, and I was a bit young. And he said, you two, because I was all right at drawing, and this other girl was all right at drawing. He said, you two, you come in with me. We're going to this in school in the evening. It's like tomorrow night. It was Tuesday night, something. It was 5 o'clock or 7 o'clock or whatever. And we went to this other school, and we went and did some life drawing. And it was a lady. And I felt, oh man, I wonder what life's come to, that she's having to model nude for money. And I felt like I felt sorry for her. And I was like imparting, I was imparting all my sense of like, you know, because like, you know, I don't know, my sense of pity on someone. But actually, and probably misplaced. She was probably just, you know, quite happy and quite wasn't that fussed about it. But I was more fussed. I was thinking, oh my God, like she's. And I also felt there was a power dynamic, and it was a bit weird, in that we were all clothed and she wasn't. And again, you get on with drawing and you do it and you get over it. And then because I've done it a lot, and I've spoken to a lot of models and like people who've come through, you know, my classes and the classes I went to at university, and I was quite pally with some of the models, you know, all the way through from, you know, college and so on. And you just, it's actually it does. We've got this British Reserve, and we're kind of a bit funny about nudity. And I'm not saying that like I personally wouldn't walk nude. I probably wouldn't model nude and stuff like that. But it does challenge those, and it makes you a bit more relaxed about it for sure when you've done.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. I would not be able to. I don't even walk around my own house nude, but I love naked people, and I've got no problems with it, with seeing and drawing. I love naked bodies.
Yeah, I like drawing them. It's kind of something really nice about drawing them.
It's so lovely, and I would never say I'd never judge, and I wouldn't. I did think that guy was quite attractive until he put his clothes on, and then I realized, well, he is still attractive, but he's in a gay way, you know, to a gay man probably. It was very funny because we were watching him getting dressed. So he, you know, first put on his pants, and then he put on his t-shirt, and then he put on his jeans, and the more clothes he put on, it was like, oh, okay. And then finally with the scarf and the cap, and then he kind of walked off the platform. I thought, oh, it's a gay man. It's a gay man. That's rude. He's a gay man. But so it is quite interesting, all the emotions that are attached to that. And in the same way, I had a young friend, and she forced herself to do modeling, nude modeling, because she had such low self-esteem about her body. She thought she was fat, and she was a bit overweight. And she thought to get over it, she was going to actually be a life drawing model. And oh my God, poor girl, she threw herself in at the deep end. She was only like early 20s. And her first modeling assignment was at a boys' school. So it's like, talk about throwing yourself in. But she said it really helped with her self-esteem. So
yeah, I've had people who come through, and it's a bit like therapy for them. And somebody told me, someone who'd modeled for me for a long time, and I'd been very friendly with them and got to know them. After, I can't say anything much more, but they told me about some trauma that had happened to them, and they explained that the modeling had given them time and space to get through it. And obviously you have people like you've just described who come for other reasons because they want to feel a bit more body positive, or they want to but this person was telling me about how it had given them support. And when you get like the life drawing classes in the daytimes tend to be retired people or older people or mums or whatever, people who can make it in the daytime. In the evenings it's a mix, but if you go to one of those daytime classes, you get very supportive groups who like really warm and motherly because they're mums, you know, or grandmas or whatever, and they come in and they sort of help this person through. And I would find with other people who come, like sometimes you'd find that people come to do life drawing or life modeling or portrait modeling work because maybe they don't want a full-time job, and maybe they're just a bit to the side of you know, taking part in life in that way. And it does have some kind of nurturing effect, or rewards them in some way that I'd never expected when I started doing it. I didn't think that would be a thing, but yeah, people have told me stories like that.
But the person I'm talking about, the reason it helped her was she was sitting there totally naked and vulnerable and self-conscious, but she said it was only when in the break she went around and looked at the drawings, and she said some of them were beautiful, and she said, oh my God, is that me, you know?
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, you're amazing. And she then saw herself in a different light. She saw herself through other people's eyes and thought, I'm not fat and ugly, you know, I'm beautiful. And that actually changed her life. So I'm not saying, well, I'm saying maybe we should all go out and get naked on a little podium and pose. I don't know. But I don't know. It's like you. It's not something I feel I can do, and I don't know why. I don't feel that I'm, you know, ugly in any way, or that there's anything wrong with me. But yeah, and it's quite interesting. You know, I don't know if you watched the interview with Jonathan early. You know, some people model and they have disabilities, and you know, so it's not about how you look. It's about how you feel, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's one of those jobs. I mean, I had a young fella come in, and I knew him through a friend, and I'd met him at like house parties and things like that, and he wanted to do and I said, sure you want to do this? And anyway, he came in and did it at first. He was really inhibited, but after a few times he just lost that inhibition, and I definitely gave him confidence in his body, and because I remember how inhibited he was on his first evening doing it. And then I just remember noticing that he'd forgot, like usually you're supposed to, like, you know, there's sort of an etiquette, right? So in the class, the students don't encroach on the model space. They have like a podium or something where you don't go anywhere near them, right? And so there's always that. But at the break time, they'll put on a robe or something. They'll come around, maybe look at the drawings like you just said, and see what's going on, and have a chat and a cup of tea and things like that. And I realized that one of the breaks, he wasn't a weirdo in any way. So obviously there's always people who, maybe people watching this because it's such an alien environment for them to think about things like this. This guy was completely, you know, a legit guy. He was really, you know, down to earth, and he just forgot to put the robe on. And I realized how comfortable he'd become being nude compared to his first, when he was really inhibited, and you could tell that he was shy, and you could tell he was awkward. And,
but knowing that, why would you not do that, knowing how liberating it is for other people? Do you feel like, have you put yourself in the artist role rather than the model role, which means you can never ever be the model? Could you ever do a self portrait? I don't know how you. Well, someone would have to take a picture of you posing nude, and then you would paint. Would you do that, or if not, why not?
I probably wouldn't do it. I mean, I'm not totally against modeling. You make model flags.
But why not? Why not? As an artist, you must understand how liberating that could be for you. Or would that you put yourself in the artist role?
I was going to say Lucian Freud. We'll answer your question in a minute. I'm going to dodge it for a second though.
I love Lucian Freud, so let's talk about Lucian Freud.
I don't really love him that much, but he painted himself nude, didn't he? Like towards the end of his life, he's got that big self-portrait of him wearing a pair of boots or something. It's all hanging out.
But I could see a little bit of Lucian Freud in your painting, although his are more visceral and a little bit more kind of, I don't know, meaty and ugly, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I didn't like the fact that he painted people like they were like corpses a lot. Like he makes them kind of like his nudes and his people. They're always like heavy. But then he lived through a certain time, and maybe he was a certain dark kind of person, from what I gather. He was a little bit detached from, you know.
Can I tell you something I didn't tell you? After my mum died in 2009, she was euthanized in the hospice. I didn't know she was being euthanized at the time. Yeah, thank you. But my instant reaction was to draw her. So I just drew her straight away after she was dead. I'd got some flowers from the garden, and I put them around her head, and then I drew a picture of her, and then just put it away. And I mentioned it to my aunt, her younger sister, who was like nearer my age than my mum's age. And she said, oh, can I have it? Can I have it? And I sent it to her, and she's still got it to this day. But a lot of people said, why did you do that? And I'm like, I don't know. I also took some photos of her after she died as well.
It's not unusual, that, in a way, because if you go back historically, like there's a painter called Jericho, and who died young, and there's other ones, and they would do two things. They would do death masks, so they do a plaster cast of their face. So even if they'd been sick and stuff, and they're all cheekbone and hollowed out, these guys, this was a 19th century thing, I think. They would put the death mask, and they would also do drawings of them, like, you know, Jericho on his deathbed and things like that. Some of them would be, people might think I'm talking about paintings where they romanticize like the death of Marat or whatever, or people, things like this, and they make these old. But that's not what I mean. They actually did. People would sit and do a deathbed drawing of them. I thought you were going to say you were called a ghoul then, but you'd escaped being called a ghoul.
You know what? If I posted that on Twitter now,
yeah, you'd get that for sure.
Ghoul, the bot. It's only the bots. You ghoul. Yeah. Oh, why did you take a photo of your this? But the thing is, I noticed as well at that point. Both my parents have died, but I was with my mum when she died. They try and scoot you out of there very, very quickly. And so most people do not have a chance to sit and think, what do they want to do? When my mum died, I sat with her for 9 hours after she died, and that was fine. They kept coming in going, oh, how are you doing? Do you need to leave? And I'm like, no, I'm fine. So it was only 9 hours later when they said, we really do need to get some stuff sorted now. And I was like, oh, okay. And in that time, you know, it felt very natural. And I watched what happened, you know, in that time period after she'd been killed. And it was horrible. And you might say, oh, you're a ghoul sitting there watching. Like, this is my mum, you know, so it wasn't ghoulish at all. I just wanted to make sure she was okay, and making sure that she was dead, to be honest. Do you know what I mean? But most people aren't given that opportunity, and so you know, people they're not given the chance to sit there. But in nature, you would actually sit there. You know, if you see how animals are when their mother or their child dies, you know, they carry them around with them, you know, and yeah. So
I think you've intuitively done something that people don't realize. I think you mentioned it or it was mentioned in your film about My Dazzlam, is that this is if I remember correctly, it's a very important rite of passage, death. It's a sacred rite of passage, and people will celebrate births and so on, and, you know, birthdays and weddings, and these rites of passage we have. And in our culture, maybe it's going to university or primary school for the first time, or secondary school. But death is what a pretty major rite of passage, right? And so something is happening there that we don't understand, and to sort of conveyor belt it and make it fast forward it is wrong. And also to deny the family to be there to facilitate that passage, and to, in whatever form you want to conceive of it, because there's all, like, people have different religions and things like that. But I think that was one of the great evils of the whole lockdown process, where they locked people away and denied them the right to a good death, you know, so where they could have their family around them, and to accompany them on their final journey from this dimension, or wherever we are, this world.
Absolutely. But, you know, you've used the phrase a good death, which is euphanikos, the Greek, as you know. A good death is not a good death. A good death these days, it's been bastardized to mean a chemically induced, drugged up death, you know, which is not a good death. It's the worst death that you could possibly have.
A loving death is what I was meaning, though. A loving death with family, and where you're like accompanied, like you said, like the animal might be there for. And you say, if it was in the wild, if it was something on some desert island, you might sit there for as long as it took for you to feel like that rite of passage is done. Yeah,
what's right for you, you know, at that point in time. And I know they were trying to get me out of there, you know, and saying, but I managed to stay there for the whole 9 hours. I probably would have stayed there a bit longer. But how many people are given the chance to do that? And it actually, you know, it was only later I realized what had happened to her. But, you know, having had that time at that point in time in her life, at her death, you know, it made me feel a little bit better. Good. A little bit better. So, so I wanted to talk to you about your activism as well. We've got all the audience taking bets on when I'm going to finish. Because like I said to you earlier, sometimes we run over a bit. But do you know what? I don't think we should talk about that now. I think we should. How do you feel? You could come back and we could talk about that side of things.
Yeah, whichever. That sounds good.
Have you got your, the painting that you're doing today? Have you got that nearby? Can we see it?
Yeah, I've got it. Just bear with me a second. I'll take these headphones out one second.
It's such a nice thing.
You're not going to see it properly, are you?
Yeah, that's good. So you've done a bit more work on it since I've seen it last.
I don't know. The light's not very good at this time of day. It's just electric light, a bit dingy.
So people can actually follow you on Twitter. They can look on your website, which we are putting up now, and
it's a work in progress.
No, it's absolutely gorgeous, and you take commissions as well. Obviously, is this your full-time job, by the way?
Yeah, well, it's kind of been a bit upended by the whole lockdown experience because I used to have a studio. Have you got that picture? There's one of Ruby standing in front of a painting. Did you? I sent you a link. I don't know if you've got that available to show, but there was a picture of a girl standing in front of a painting, a nude of her, like that I put on a link on Twitter earlier, but it gives an idea of the studio. That's all. I used to have this studio that I taught classes from. So I initially started, I fumbling around after, going to art college and things like that. And then after a few years, I got a job as an artist in residence in a school, which kind of gave me a lift off because then you validated you had a job and you got a year contract. And so people think, oh, you're proper now. Then I started to get little bits of teaching and I set up little classes of my own in community centres. And eventually I got a studio as part of a collective in Oxford, and I had my own space within a building where there was 25 spaces for different sizes for different people doing different kinds of artwork, and I used to teach classes from there. So, but then obviously because it was a shared environment in the sense that we all used the same loo or kitchen or corridors, when 2020 happened, obviously the first 3 months there was no one there. There was just me going back and forth with Dave, painting Dave because there was no one else coming in.
Good old Dave. Dave didn't care.
Dave and I are fast mates, mate. Like we got on well. And I should call him. But the problem was when in fact, that was a really pivotal moment for me. I don't really get sad about all this. I mean, obviously, there's the external sadness, right, with what's going on in the world. But I try not to take it on board too much because, as you know, it's not very happy. It's not very helpful. So, but there was one day and I thought, I'm not going to last here. I'm not last here. I came in and they had posters everywhere. You have to follow it had all the rules and regulations that were going to be enforced now. They were putting arrows on the floor of the corridors. You weren't allowed people in. And my studio for 3 months during lockdown had been like a little resistance because it was down an alleyway. So anyone could arrive down the alleyway and you could be going to the taxi firm. You could be going to, anything. And so people could just come and we could meet and talk like normal people. Whereas if they came to my
that's like my local curry house. Yeah.
If they came to my flat or somewhere residential, everyone could see people arriving. Oh, he's got visitors around, and they could grass you up. But the studio was like a little hub where we could, because nobody was coming in except me and whoever I invited. So people could call in and we could have a chat and we could. But when that day when I came in, there was these A4 posters everywhere telling us we had to do track and trace and we had to know this. I thought, I'm not going to be compliant and I'm not going to last very long. I was like, this madness has encroached even on my little oasis.
But and you were obviously way before all this, weren't you?
Yeah. So I'm quite, if we're going to go talk about some of the forgery stuff or whatever, or the optic stuff, I sort of became gradually, because I was with these paintings I was interested in how they made these old master paintings, and I used to look at it and think the paint they're using isn't the same as people are using today. Like, it's different. So I can see by the brush marks, and I was thinking, well, so I sort of became like a practical scientist, or like a low-key chemist, a low-key scientist. You're trying to, but just not in terms of academia, just in terms of what does this effect have on this. Now, then I started to read the books. Yeah, if you scroll through these, the nudes, you'll find one of the photograph of her standing in the studio.
I love that. I love that one.
Yeah, that's quite a decent size, that. But yes. But yes, so what was I saying? Visual, the sort of the science. So when I saw 9/11 with the towers fall, I just thought that doesn't happen like that. When you see a structure fall, like if someone takes an axe to a tree, the tree doesn't fall, symmetrically through the trunk.
That's exactly what I thought when I saw it. Exactly the same thing.
I've spoken to physicists and they'll say, "Oh, it's a complex structure, Francis. You don't understand." But actually, those kind of laws are inviolable. That's just not how it works. Like it doesn't. Things don't unravel. The tree trunk does not unravel into sawdust on the way down. So with
we know
that,
we know that intuitively, just as humans,
right.
we know that,
So I was just like looking at things like in that way. So that when you say was I awake, I was just somebody who understood, like in a visual way, I kind of understood the world. And that's not being too like arty. It's just, I think there's lots of people, I don't think that's particularly special. Like if you ask a kid to play snooker, lots of kids will intuitively understand that if they hit the ball against the cushion, it'll bounce off at a certain angle. That's just the way the world works, or if you play, tennis against the wall or football against the wall, we understand that if it came back at you from if you hit the ball at an oblique angle, it comes straight back at you. That would not make sense. There's certain things that would not make sense.
Yeah.
And I think I had that sort of visual understanding of the world, and then that's developed, into the close observation through painting and just watching what's going on.
Yeah.
You're paying attention.
Oh, let me see that one. I love that. I haven't seen that one. Do you know, I like pretty much all your paintings. My mum was I love that one. That's beautiful.
It's Georgie, yeah.
Oh, that's gorgeous. My mum was an artist. I absolutely love that one. My mum was an artist.
There she is. That was the one I was talking about. There's Ruby standing next to her painting. So.
Oh, she must have been so thrilled with that.
Yeah.
Did she like it?
Yeah, she did. Yeah.
What have you done with that picture? Has she got it now?
I've got it still.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Oh, it's absolutely lovely. But I forgot what I was going to say now. But oh no, it's perfect. I mean, so I was going to say some of my mum's paintings, I'd go, I don't like that one, or you can see something that she's got wrong, but I can't fault that one actually. But an interesting thing as well. We've gone right over time. Can I just check with Mr. Gold Eagle that he doesn't need to go off and tend to his wife? Oh, he's fine. We've got the thumbs up. That's good. I forgot what I was going to say. What was I talking about?
I've just been waffling on about watching the world visually.
Yeah, no.
Oh
no, I know. When God, my kids say, "Mum, you're so depressing." The things you talk about. Here I go again. When my mum was dying and she'd been diagnosed with cancer, don't laugh. No, my mum will be going. I can hear her in my head now. Don't speak ill of the dead. She had a very dark Irish sense of humour, so it's fun. Yeah, some of the paintings she did as she was dying, and well, not as she was dying, after she'd been diagnosed with cancer, they were horrible. And she'd be going, "Oh, I did this one yesterday," and I'm like, "Oh, Mum, that's the worst painting you've ever done." And then she'd say, "Oh," and I'd go, "What the hell is this one about?" And she said, "Well, that's me." And I'm like, "What? The little bald naked person?" She's like, "Yeah, the little Gollumy person." "Well, who are these?" "Well, they're the angels of death." And I'm like, "Oh my God, Mum, seriously? Can we do some landscapes or something?" Do you know what I mean? But she felt compelled. When she was in the hospice, there was an art studio there, so she took over it, and she was encouraging other people to paint as well as an art therapist. When I say she was an art therapist, she only ever worked for the National Health Service. She never went private because she believed in the National Health Service. She worked in a mental hospital in Basingstoke, and she actually encouraged a lot of the patients there. They were called patients back then, not clients, and they'd been there since the Second World War. Some of them, they've been totally institutionalized, and she encouraged them to paint for the first time ever in their lives. But she didn't get paid for that. She did that as a sideline.
Wow.
And she never actually did it like professionally, even though she got a diploma in art therapy and stuff. She never actually used it. I said, "Mum, go private. You can charge £50 an hour or whatever." She's like, "No, I'm not interested in doing that." And she never did. But she's only 68 when she died anyway. Yeah, but the point is that I actually have gone totally off on a massive tangent there. Do you want to step in?
Wait, you hadn't finished.
No,
you were just coming to the point. You said the point is, and then I've
gone like 20 tangents in now.
No, I think it's a really good idea to get people to paint and do something creative. I think that if we can bring it back to get kind of a running theme through probably your shows and what we're doing anyway, is that our creativity is something that's being stifled. and it's almost being deliberately eradicated from our lives. We're meant to become functioning bots. We're meant to become the drones of the, and serve the queen bees, if you like. And they don't want us to think intuitively. They don't want us to think creatively. They want us to think, just be so tired and so stultified and so educated out of our intuition and our creativity that we just do what we're told. And I think that when you open up that doorway of creativity to people, whether they're old or young, it gives them something else. It gives them another meaning to life. And I think that, if we look at through our past, the artists are like seers and savants. And the other thing that happens with art as well is that you give importance to something, you choose it, you initiate it. So you have to have like a level of initiative. You have to have a level of confidence. You learn that other people's opinions are kind of irrelevant. In the sense that somebody will say it's good, somebody will say bad, someone will say they like it, someone will say they don't like it. And so you get, I guess, toughened. Like if every time you say something creative or do something creative, if you put a song out or you stand up, let's say we said before, dancing in front of somebody or singing in front of somebody or painting, you open yourself up, you make yourself vulnerable, because someone can laugh at you if you sing, they can laugh at you if you read your poem out, they can laugh at you if you make your painting, they can, you make yourself vulnerable. And I think that to some extent we've lost the ability to be vulnerable, to be wrong, and also to have the courage of our convictions to stand up, because people haven't got that, and that's something that's been sorely missing. And it's because they never have to step outside of the norm, and yet every one of us is outside of the norm in some way, and that'll manifest because we're all our, like I say, in the life drawing room or the portrait class, every drawing will be different, and all our perspectives will be different, and all our interpretations will be different, and all the energies and experiences we bring to it will be different. So in our lives, like if we can't accept that there's going to be other opinions, then we just end up with these totalitarian little drones, which is what they want us.
But let me ask you, and this is something I should have asked you at the start, not at the end, what makes you the way you are?
Well, I don't know if that's a question for me to answer, but I'll try. I thought I did quite well with the last tangent you threw at me.
Oh God, I've got really know where they came from.
I guess that
well, we've had to establish how you are. So what I'm saying is you're the sort of person who's able to see through a lot of things. You're able to assess, what's real and what's not real, and also you've got this ability to paint. How have you got to this point? What has made you this person that you are? Is it to do with your family, or what happened with education?
Yeah, so I was going to start with family, because that's where you're sort of raised and nurtured and crafted in some way. So obviously there'll be my parents and whatever they instilled into you, and they were always saying like, hey, don't do what everyone else does, and if everyone jumped off a cliff, would you jump off? Everybody gets that, right? But
that's not like my dad, so much like my dad.
So there's that, and I'll come back to my parents in a minute. But I also come from a big family, so we're 6 brothers and 1 sister, so there's 7 of us. And so if you can't learn to there was a process of learning that you're never going to please everyone all the time. There's a process of learning that people are always going to tell you to shut up, or your ears are too big, or you're too fat, or you're too thin, or your haircut's too long or too short, and all this. Whatever you've got wrong with you, you'll have the mickey taken out of you for it.
Were you in the middle of the brothers?
I'm the second oldest.
Second oldest, right?
But we were about a year apart, all of us, so it was very close and very competitive, I guess. And so that was like a bit of like you forge a sword in fire, don't you? So like, and they're all like, they all know their own.
Are you an Irish family? Are you an Irish family?
Irish background, yeah. So
I was going to say you look really Irish.
Yeah, so yeah, I used to say my grandparents are Irish, but they're sort of like 1 or 2 of them are, but it's all my great grandparents would have been Irish, yeah.
So I recognise you as a fellow Irishman obviously, because
it's funny with the yellow boards. I was thinking this because there's kind of a stereotype running through it, and obviously we're not allowed to think of stereotypes, and it's all racist and all the rest of it. But it's kind of the person who does all the organizing happens to be German, and the guy who brings the music and all that just happens to have like sort of like Caribbean heritage and things like that, and Central American heritage, and the one who does all the talking, and that's me, the Irish background. So I was just like, we're just classic stereotypes. Yeah. So I wonder if there is something. I mean, it seems to me there are certain traits and characteristics that are carried through in our families and our backgrounds and so on. So yeah, there was definitely all of that. And actually interesting, I've thought about this. Like we used to think, because my dad got a Catholic background, so they are, still morals into you, and you've got right and wrong. And you be, as a kid, you're like, oh, come on, just relax. Let's do this. Let's do that. My dad would be like, my dad would be forever like, watching this rubbish on the TV. And now you realize he was right about every single thing.
Yes,
like all the music he was telling you to turn off, and you go out and play football, go and do something. He's like, because we're watching the chart show, whatever, or like Top of the Pops is on. And he was trying to switch it off. And you look now, like there was a reason to switch it off, which might not have been as evident then. But it's thoroughly evident now, like with what they put out as or passes as music or passes as or they try and pass off as popular culture.
Absolutely. It's really weird when I do these shows. I just get random people on. Like I didn't know you knew Charlotte, and there's so many things that I didn't know that you're Irish Catholic background. So was Josh McKinney. I got on. I kind of vaguely knew, but and I only get on people that I really like. So that I know we're going to have a good chat, and it always works out. It's great.
I just want to say one other thing about in answer to the last question. I think that you find that a lot of people who are awake or see a higher authority than government, and I think that's what we got in our family. That the government wasn't the highest authority because there was a religious element to it as well.
Yeah, well, my dad was very anti the British government and stuff, and taught me to sing IRA songs and stuff. But that's another story. But I think, do you know what? Maybe, I don't know if anyone's still listening in. They probably are. I don't know. I can't see. No one tells me anything. But we haven't even got onto your activism. So that's good, because you can come back another time and we can get into that and see some more pictures as well.
And we didn't talk about any of the art things, like the forgeries and all the things.
Oh no! That's gonna be a really good story. No, okay. Why didn't you come back in like a month or so and we can do that?
Yeah.
Art forgeries and all the other stuff that we haven't.
All the other stuff we thought about talking about that we didn't talk about.
I love that. I love going off on tangents. So it's been great. It's been really great talking to you. And I'm now going to play a tune that is probably completely irrelevant to anything that we've talked about, but I'm going to play it anyway because I remember it being quite jolly, and I like to go off on a jolly note.
Yeah.
But no, it's been really lovely talking to you, and we'll liaise again soon. I'll send you a message. I'll send you a message, and I'll send you a link to this if you want to watch it all again. And thank you very much, Francis.
Thank you, Jacqui. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, lovely.
My pleasure.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Well, I wasn't expecting for the camera to come back on me. I've obviously shed my cloak of invisibility, and that was an amazing chat. Well, I liked it. I don't know if anyone else is still in the room. We're having a good old tangenty chat there. So I'm going to play this song, and it's by a band called Beans on Toast. The song's called The Three Stooges. I've had it lined up for months, so I don't even know how relevant it is anymore, but I knew I liked it at the time, and I don't tend to change my views on music and stuff. So here it is. Good night. See you soon.
King Charles is a stooge for the World Economic Forum. He's been a member for years, and we have reason to believe that he will do their bidding for them. They've made their intentions perfectly clear. They want our land, they want our houses, they want our data and our food supply. They've got it all mapped out. There's no one there to stop them. They've got no reason to lie. We will own nothing, we will be happy, or so the saying goes. take everything, and we will all be left out in the cold, singing angry songs for the culture war. But left or right, it don't matter anymore. We will find common ground in the bills we can't afford, and we'll know what's what when our homes get cold. Oh, something's gotta give. Something's gotta give. The first Prime Minister was a stooge for the energy companies, the oligarchs and think tanks and rich economists, soon replaced by a tax-dodging millionaire. Just another stooge for the WEF, the cost of living, the next recession. Baby, the bubble's gonna burst, and when it does, who do you reckon is gonna get the